And live. Okay. So and already in the chat we got Mr. Angel already in the chat saying 10 seconds, gotta find my headphones. But he's giving us a little live long and prosper.
We'll give you 9.5.
9 and 1/4. Oh, do you see that joke the other day in the PCMR with the parents parents have trouble solving their kids' math problems. They get it like was it 1/3 of the time they have trouble solving their kids' math problems, but they get it right 3/4 of the time or something like that. Going to show that whoever's they get the math, and I'm like, so they get it right half the time. Alright, bad math jokes aside. Star Citizen.
What's that?
Well, you see, it is this crowd-funded space sim MMORPG FPS game that, well, you get to do everything.
Everything? Okay.
Well, you can't remove spleens. Okay.
I'm like, we aren't going to go and be like, I'm going to pretend to know nothing about the game so man can explain it now.
No, because I just don't have the patience to explain the entirety of the game right now. Like, I'm sure at some point we could do that, just to actually like be helpful or informative, or maybe we can put it in like a video format so it's not like part of a 3-hour live stream or something. But I just don't have the patience to do that right now. So.
What about now?
Oh, nothing changed. I'm getting the thing open. So we got the Ptu and Squadron42 monthly studio reports. We're late on covering it, but I figured it was going to be overshadowed by other stuff. And welcome back, Mr. A. I'm Mando, and that's Cam.
Where?
Over there, over there. Where I'm pointing. Can't you see where I'm pointing to?
Kinda, it's a little hazy.
Over there. It's not over here, it's over there. Okay, so Squadron42 monthly studio report. For anyone who doesn't know, the monthly once a month, CIG puts a studio report on what all the different development teams are working on for both Squadron42 and Star Citizen. And last week we got the Squadron one. And it's got a lot of content, a lot of AI stuff. They've been really hammering it down with the AI. Like they've been talking about animation work with the AI regarding sleep and bed relaxation activity. So this way, just adding a bit more of that, background character stuff. So this way you're walking around the ship in the barracks of a ship, and it's like, oh, people are doing what you expect to find them doing in the barracks,
Oh no!
Oh no, indeed.
Why are there so many drugs and empty booze bottles here?
Playing cards with little credits on the floor.
Who are these strange women in here?
Women? No, it's gonna be a guy in drag, okay?
Why are there all these Vanduul here?
Playing cards with the enemy.
Yeah.
Like that joke where what do dogs do when you're not home?
Hey, as long as you aren't dead, Bob. All right.
Okay.
Is it okay?
So yeah, we got revamped sleep and bed relaxation and activity, R&D on the bed sheet deformation, because that's the level of detail Star Citizen is known for going for. Like they have to make the bed sheets deformation.
Okay. So for those who don't know what that means, also too, that will mean that like if an NPC or a player is moving on a bed, climbing in, climbing out, the bed sheets will go in and move accordingly to match the the movement that you would expect. Now, one thing to know, yeah, there's already been people losing their fucking minds over it and stuff. There's probably like one or two devs who have like a 30-minute thing penciled in like 3 months to go and work on this thing. This isn't really gonna be. This is one of those things that like someone was like, "Hey, can I go and like work on this just to like chill a bit after working on all this other shit?" Manager, sure, what the fuck not? Person, woohoo!
Yeah, like a lot of people are always gonna, you're always gonna have that crowd like, oh, development time's going into this instead of that. Like, no. That's why they
No,
have
not
the
right.
teams working on different things. Like, this is part of the AI features team. No, sorry, this is the AI content team. I have the AI features team on the screen, so that's my mistake. The AI content team working on the bedsheet stuff. They're also working on finalizing the arcade machines, which, so for any who are curious, whether you played the game or not, or you've seen footage of the game, you see like arcade machines kind of just placed in the background and stations. You will be able to play those in the future. So they're
But not now.
finalized. In regards to Squadron42, they're finalizing it. But like specifically, to know what the hell does finalizing mean, work on arcade machine feature was finalized last month, which includes polishing the machine's male and female animations. The team also utilized the new geometry slaving feature from AI Tech Team. Instead of playing a joystick animation, the joystick is attached to the NPC's hand and moves when it does. So this is like one of the back-end tech kind of workaround that they find to make things, again, function the way you'd expect them to in reality, but in the form of a video game. So to make the joystick look like you're actually moving the joystick, they have it when you're using the machine, part of your hand instead of a separate entity. But
Now, one thing to note too with that kind of tech, I was like, oh, they're wasting time making the video game joystick attached to your hand. But that can very easily be applied for all kinds of other weird little interfaces that will go and work for other future modules, weird cockpit designs, etc. Like this is stuff that can go and be reused. Same with like the bedsheet deformation stuff. That can very easily go and be used for better cloth physics. For things like, hey, I want to go and cover my Ursa rover with a tarp, or I want to wear a cape, or some shit like that. Like this kind of tech isn't just a one and done. It connects to other things and other areas here.
right, and you also gotta remember, like for instance, capes. Like a lot of armors already in game have capes to them. You know, like the tech for the deformation of bed sheets can work for your cape as well. So this way, it's properly flowing in the wind, or whenever you move around or sit. Again, just adding more believability to the game, so things react
Or I
the
could
way
be
you
a
expect them
super
to.
fucking drama queen like Darth Vader and stand on top of my spaceship while controlling it with the Force,
The
and
fuck?
at the same time making my cape billow in the non-existent wind with the Force, because fuck you, drama queen.
At least Magneto, the cape is moving because whatever the frick, he's actually on Earth. Like even when there's no wind, he's just flying. The cape's always around. Anywho, so yeah, there's that, and moving on to the AI feature team. We've got the AI feature team worked on tech and animations for player takedowns. So we already have player takedowns in the game, but in this specific instance, it's the aim to present the Vanduul as furious deadly killers. For example, if Vanduul knocks a player down, that doesn't recover quickly enough, they'll be killed via a dramatic execution style animation. So think like assassinations in Halo, from Halo Reach.
Or like in Skyrim, how enemies can execute you.
Yeah. So kind of again, just more animation stuff, more things to make it look just less. I guess more a little bit of fluidity. Like a better term. They also added, and this one actually got me pretty excited, but the cat and mouse gameplay with a marauding Vanduul. In this section, the Vanduul patrols around a room with low visibility while the player tries to avoid them, making as little noise as possible. If the Vanduul hears them, it will go into investigation mode and check the area sound works. So, like your typical cat and mouse type gameplay, think like Alien Isolation or really any horror game.
Yeah, I was gonna say like the recent Alien games, huh?
I mean, it is an alien. It is bigger than you. I mean, the Vanduul are kind of the same size as the Xenomorph, aren't they?
No, they're a bit bigger.
No, they are. They're like 8 feet tall. That's right. That's gonna be pretty. That's the thing. I can't wait to go up against them. they're this warrior race. For anyone who doesn't know, the Vanduul are a spacefaring warrior clan like race. We don't know anything about them though. Like, yeah, we know some of their biology. We know they have like this reflective skin. They're 8 feet tall, like proportionally 8 feet tall. Like they're much bigger.
They don't die in vacuum.
They don't need a suit in vacuum. They just need a respirator. That's it. The higher ranking, the less armor they wear, because they're all about like honor, or maybe not honor, but they're all about like warriors and stuff like that. It's kind of like a mishmash of the Predators, the Yaoja, and the aliens from Independence Day, because they kind of go from planet to planet, draining resources, moving on. They're kind of reptilian. It's a very.
I'm still calling it that they're going to give them some kind of a tragic and empathic backstory kind of thing, to where they go from right now they're essentially just like comic book villains, evilly twirling their mustaches while kicking puppies. But they'll give them some kind of backstory where like either they're fleeing from some greater power and just like trying to keep their fleet alive, and so they just rampage against anyone else as they're fleeing away, pushing them further into human space as they are. Or there's some other like cataclysm going on, whatever, and that's why.
But there's probably a reason for why they're just all of a sudden invading human colonies and essentially starting a war with us. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we don't know really anything aside from just basics about them. So it's always interesting. They're like, oh, cool, we're gonna have cat and mouse gameplay with them. That's exciting. They're supposed to be these really hardened warriors.
Hey, Garrett.
But yeah, we got that. We got improvements to the master graph, the ultimate AI behavior controller. So for those that don't know what that is, this state machine takes various events as inputs, so seeing an enemy, hearing a grenade, etc., and controls the transitions between states that the AI would be in, and then plays the associated behaviors as a result of hearing whatever prompts via the grenade or seeing you. So they're just improving the AI, making them more betterer.
Not betterer.
Betterer. And on the animation side of things, the AI feature team also worked on lots of female retargeting. So essentially, like pistol animations, using the hand and arm overlays. Essentially, just smoothing out animations. Again, just making things look nicer. AI tech, we got adjusted the AI to allow ships to correctly quantum travel out of the planetary atmospheres. So this is something the players can do no problem right now, but I guess now AI can do it as well. They'll be able to quantum travel out from the atmosphere of a planet just like we can when we reach a certain altitude.
No way.
They also added the ability to notify listeners when nav meshes are created with environments. Explain that. Due to a large number of entities, they're aiming to reduce the number of allocations for notification events and possibly introduce a better way to filter which end. So, kind of just cleaning up resource management. In a way, to oversimplify it, grossly oversimplify it, but yeah. That's just the thing, like a lot of these studio reports are going to be very techno-babbly, so that's a fair warning. But that's kind of the beauty of all of Star Citizen and the open development of it, is that they're not trying to oh, well, you wouldn't understand it, so we're going to explain it. No, we're just going to tell you exactly what it is. If you don't understand, you can always look it up, or just learn through reading. Or just get confused all the time.
Hey, that's my job.
But yeah, we got the AI tech. They began working on a major improvement to the way the multi-graph view validates node connection. So that's, again, some more back-end tech stuff, which makes the AI tech team doing. The animation team worked on AI pre-visuals for supported design to implement animations across various chapters, because Squadron 42 is split up into chapters. Essentially just their missions on chapters. No, wait, actually, is that... No, they still have missions. Chapters are essentially like what a normal game would do, like a season, right? We'll figure it out. we'll find out. Animation also looked into using overlays to convert stocked weapon combat into pistol combat. This way, you have animations. This way, they can have different animations that overlay. That right there. Hell, even I don't know all this stuff. I'm not an animation guy. I'm not a game developer. I know some, but I'm not gonna say I know everything. That'd just be a lie. Improvement to zero-G traversal. That's desperately needed. Right, Cam? Yeah.
I'd just be happy when like running around no longer fucking kills you randomly.
Yeah. He's in there hungry, Mr. Angel. Who's hungry? AI?
Something like that.
Let's see, we got animations for zero-G, animations for social areas progressed. So again, just more believability to the game. Improvements made to several cast character animations. Engine team worked on... What did they work? They worked on physics team, specifically of the engine. They worked on splitting the patched grid cleanup into two parts. Unnecessary computation removed from physical world time-stepping code of living entity improved. Auto conversion of legacy constraints to constraint attachments implemented. Gen 12 renderer transition continued because they really want to get to Gen 12 renderer and to Vulkan. Because Vulkan's meant to replace what's face? What is Vulkan meant to replace? Because Gen 12 is meant to replace what's face?
I don't know if Vulkan
X,
is
right?
replacing anything.
Or not really. Build on. I don't know. I think Board Gamer did. All people. No, sorry, not Board Gamer. Nubify did a video in the Discord server. Let's see. Physics team worked on splitting the patched grid clean up into two parts. Already read that. Support for viewport scaling to render pass was added. Various debug UIs were implemented. Materials fallbacks from the pre-pass stage were disabled. Gen 12 ports of the planet terrain height map and shadow rendering systems were finalized and merged upstream. So this way, planets look better from distance. Just everything's rendering better because when you less pop-ins essentially, less pop-ins. So when you're getting closer to the planet, all of a sudden things are popping in. Like it shouldn't be that way. Potential deadlock in the exception handler was fixed. New OS time interface was provided. GPU frame time is now included in an event, and Linux game server instances now also use separate. The gameplay feature team continued worked on the master at arms behavior. So essentially, your quartermaster, your gun guy when you're on the ship. Simplified again. And he was in the vertical slicer, right? Where they made the Terminator reference?
Yeah.
Yeah, where he asked like for a 40-watt plasma rifle in the 40-watt range. He's like, whatever you see is what I got.
Yeah.
But he ended up requesting, was it a P8 AR and a combat knife?
Did he get a pistol too? I don't remember.
I don't remember. I think he got a LH-86, which is the worst. But that's just my opinion.
Honestly, but the problem is that the balancing of the pistols is really horrible right now. Yeah. With the Arclight having 30 rounds, even if each of the bolts you fire with it don't do a huge amount of damage, that amount of ammunition capability means everyone's going to use
And the
it.
rate of fire.
Yeah.
It's got a high rate of fire,
It's
too.
like,
Meanwhile, you have something like...
The only other pistol I ever really use is the Coda, because it's a 50 cal and that's pretty much a one-shot kill.
Yeah,
If I get a headshot.
I've been using the Coda and the Salvo because the Salvo's just really plentiful, and it's also 50 cal, and it's got that shotgun blast, which just knocks enemies on their ass. Also, hey, Coolius, we're talking about the Squadron42 report.
Hello, I haven't. Okay. Which part?
Smee in the chat is asking, they will use Vulkan instead of trying to poorly write DirectX code. Thank you, that was it, DirectX.
Ah, yes.
Okay, I was just completely blanking on the name. Thank you, Smee.
You're welcome. Now you die!
Oh no! It was a good time, will you? Yeah, we got... Worked on the Master of Arms behavior. Let's see, the gameplay feature team also worked on in-game application form linked to the character customizer, so... Okay, that sentence doesn't make any sense. But then again, I didn't write these notes. So.
I thought you wrote all this stuff, Mando. Come on.
Just not these ones specifically. In fact, I showed copying, pasting them on the stream. No, but here, in-game application form linked to the character customizer, which allows players to generate an initial version of their character based on the option selected on the form. Support was also given to the cinematic design team so that they can create faces and characters for the designs, obviously. Hopefully we can see some of this stuff in the PU soon, because we're still waiting on the hair version 2. I know, a weird thing to ask for, but hey, character customization's a thing. You want to make your character your own, and
but it is
the hair
hairy situation.
It's a very hairy situation. You also don't have a lot of hair options.
True.
Also, I noticed in 3.17 they removed the red and purple eye colors, which hopefully they bring them back because they were pretty cool. And also, someone mentioned coloring having the ability to color your eyebrows separately from your hair. I thought would be a nice touch. Gameplay story team, they got updated several scenes in Chapter 1 with new mocap. Chapter 5 received a significant update to animations for 4 NPCs boarding a train. Finished 2 more random to NPC scenes. Literally, those scenes are called random to NPC. Graphics and VFX programming. They set the proper viewport size to render passes in debuffer and depth pre-pass stages. Support the RTT pipeline, and they worked on cleanup of resources arrays and shadow scattering queries. So, your typical graphics and VFX programming. A lot of it is pretty much just a lot of behind-the-scenes back-end technology improvement or implementations. That's pretty much what a lot of the monthly studio reports are, which is why they're so long. But the level design team worked on specifically the FPS team focused on a final gameplay and implementation path for various key chapters. They worked on pushing a number of mechanics and other chapters to alpha, so they can begin testing and balancing gameplay towards the final experience. So there you have it. Some parts of Squadron are in alpha right now. The base dogfight team continued pushing the early chapters towards vertical slice quality. Several special focus elements bespoke to Squadron42 received design attention, and social design teams all in game. Hopefully, because given right now it's May 6th, it's May 16th of 2022. So this year, CitizenCon this year is going to be the 10th anniversary of Star Citizen and Squadron42. So hopefully they have something to show for it, because it's going to look really bad if they don't. Reading the report here kind of gives me some hope. Here's hoping. The narrative team revised scripts based on playthroughs with design. Placeholder lines will be captured soon to allow the team to experience them in Ptu during playthroughs rather than just reading them in a script. So there you have it, Cam. They are doing some playtesting on their own. Explored some text-based systems and provided general game text, including mission objectives and holo briefing. So, like, that's more or less kind of quality of life insurances, text size and stuff like that. Because if text is too small on UI, you can't. So that sort of thing. But for the narrative-related aspects of the game. A QA team supported cinematics by reproducing issues found during development and chasing bugs, and usually the usual checklist testing began. Testing on Vanduul, FPS, ship AI, etc. Tech animation team continued creating new face rigs for their internally created scan data. Invested substantial time into the tool chain process to ensure upcoming heads are quicker and cleaner to produce. This way they can scan and make more heads that we can, in the future, hopefully have more options for our character customization. Because at the moment you have, 9 heads in total? For each sex? For both sexes?
Somewhere.
I think you have 9 heads, and it's the same heads for a while. Like, hopefully they can make new, because, they scan in new heads, and then they can make heads that way, or they can mix and match the heads to create new heads there, but just more options are always great, right? We also invested substantial time into. I already read that. Supported the team feature and animation teams, improving the animation systems and new initiatives and supply workflows to save both time and errors. So essentially, just improving everything. That's really what all of this really is. Just improving and implementing. That's what game design is. So. Unless you're Marty O'Donnell, then game design is epic. Awesomeness will ensue. Which isn't wrong. The UI team progressed on new star map and radar UI, so that's exciting.
Doesn't be nice to get a new fucking star map.
And just radar UI too. Hopefully it's good, because the current radar isn't the best.
The radar component.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yeah, that might be it. Like, even if it's the same radar, it's going to be using building blocks and will be tied to the component. Or maybe there'll be different radars depending on your radar component. That would be interesting. Implemented basic controls enabling them to look around the solar system and view planets, orbits, and vehicles within it. I assume that's for the star map. Begin adding an info panel that players can use to see details about selected objects. Began work on UI screens for various levels, converting the existing player HUD elements to building blocks. That has been a long time coming. Continue, because remember, this is the player FPS HUD, your helmet HUD. That's going to be going to building blocks finally. Continued to update features in support of persistent streaming. Developed additional building block features, and the new card system received major usability and performance improvements, and is currently being tested in the vehicle HUD for the hull scraping feature. And they also worked on new AR marker system. Overall, the AI, the UI report is so far my favorite of the bunch. Because those are all things that we need now, that we desperately need to change the UI. Whether it's the FPS HUD, your radar, the star map especially. VFX also completed color experimentation on a suite of energy-based effects, including completed several unique shield effects, completed prototyping to demonstrate how particles can be used to add extra visual flourish to holographic displays, and experimented with better ways to fracture geometry to create more realistic looking damage. Essentially, make things look nicer, which is fitting for the effects, but it'll be interesting to see unique shield effects. So, like maybe a Tavaran shield generator, or let's. Or Tavaran in Origin. But anyway, like alien shield generators having like a different visual effect than a human shield, you know? Or something along. I'm just theorizing, but they do say several unique shield effects have been completed.
The Ptu Defender has a different type of quantum drive.
Right.
That.
So maybe it's gonna be something along those lines, where it's like the shield generators are different. They have a different visual effect depending on what shield generator it is, which I'm all for. Especially since the visual effects for the quantum drives for alien ships look amazing. Even the typical human quantum travel effect looks good. Except for when it has that glitch where you don't have a tunnel at all. Quantum tunnel is not. Also, do you see the roadmap update where they updated a bunch of deliverables according with the theory report? So we got a bunch of ongoing sprints. But nothing's really been added or removed that I noticed on the roadmap update. Everything's either just actively being worked on or updated. So whatever's still there is still there.
Roadmap entirely.
What?
Unless it's been removed from the roadmap entirely.
Well, they tell you what it's been, like if it's been removed. If it's been roadmap, they'll tell you if it's removed though, in the updates.
I'm still waiting to see salvage delayed.
I know, it's just I'm dreading it, but I'm expecting it. I hope not. Can you imagine salvage actually comes out this year?
Would be nice.
Even tier 0 implementation.
And one thing I'll say too, like I do think that overall they've focused very, very heavily, and in my opinion, too heavily on mining.
Yeah.
Because it's like this. We mining was really the first real gameplay loop outside of cargo trading that we've gotten. But on the other hand, though, especially, even if you were to look at it now, and just deepening the gameplay loops we've got now, and not even getting into refining, which would be the other half of mining. Just looking at mining and just like, okay, we'll get more options and more fine tuning of what we've got currently with it. That's a pretty good setup there. And is a good, assuming that all of the other gameplay loops follow a similar pattern in terms of how much content they're getting, the options they have, we're going to be set up pretty good to where you're going to have nothing but options for everything. So I can't wait.
Yeah. It'll be nice because, so far we only have, like, how many actual gameplay loops does Star Citizen really have right now? And I'd say one, really, which is the mining and refining.
Yeah, I would say mining, cargo is really halfway done.
Right.
At this point.
Medical is just getting started.
Yeah,
it's not even like, I'd say it literally they started, like, it's implemented, getting there, but they only just started getting there. So, and hopefully salvage will start getting there too, because at least this way they're more stuff out
as well too, right?
What?
That's not so incentivized.
What's not?
What is it?
Combat, I said.
Oh.
Yeah, combat in and of itself, I don't know if it could be considered a gameplay loop. Just because
I'd say with the recent bunker stuff, yes, I'd definitely say.
Well, I mean, it's involved in gameplay loops because you have things like, for example, bounty hunting, piracy. Those would involve combat, but it would be different kinds of combat. Bounty hunting would, and even piracy to some degree, would focus more on non-lethal.
Yeah,
Because even as a
disabling
pirate,
mechanics.
if you're being a legitimate pirate and not just a murder hobo, like you aren't going to go and just run around killing people.
What is this,
You're going to
D&D?
go and be like, hey, I'm going to charge you a toll fee for passing through my space line. Or I'm going to go and take 10% of your cargo here because I'm going to protect you as you fly through this very dangerous space, that kind of shit. If I just kill you and take the cargo, you're never going to come through there again. Whereas if you go and see that, if I take 10% of your cargo, but I actually go and make sure you get to your destination, or as far as I'm willing to go with it safely, you start seeing that, especially if you make this route many times, that's just the route fee, right? It's like a toll road kind of thing.
All right, and you can be stealthy about it too, where it's like you do the same thing, but instead of saying, okay, give me your part of your cargo, so I'll escort you safely, that's payment type thing. You can have it like, oh no, here I'll help you out. Like there's a toll you have to get through here, and you help them. But as you're doing that, you stealthily take their cargo. But really, will depend on what ship and all that. But it's still like there's an option, right?
Yeah,
there's an option.
But it's like if you just go around running and killing people, like that is a option, and you have a whole lot of people that they want to be murder hobos, but it's like if you just run around just murdering everyone you see, NPC and player alike, even gangs like the NPC gangs like say Ninetales, or even possibly Xenothreat are going to go and start targeting you potentially because hey, you're bringing a lot of heat down on us that we don't need. We might be bad guys, we might be criminals, but we're smart about it. We aren't just going in and stabbing every single person we fucking see. If you run around a pirate station stabbing everyone, Ninetales is gonna fucking shoot you down because that's bad for business, right? And you have a whole lot of people that just want to be murder hobos, and it's like you can do that, but even the criminal organizations, or many of the criminal organizations, might turn their backs on you because of that. And I would find that so hilarious too, because you would have a lot of people crying about that because, well, I want to be able to gank everyone and have everyone still have to play nice with me. Anyway, rant over.
No, it's right because again, reputations would be a big thing in Star Citizen. So
Yep.
that would play into it. How the criminal organizations see you as well as how the legal organizations would. And if you're going to be a risk and a nuisance to both parties' operation, yeah, they're going to want to steer clear of you or kind of rat you out to the other just so they can get rid of you.
Yeah. And also too, I would guarantee, let's say for example, you got a Ninetales there, you even have like a gray area of space kind of thing.
Like say Grimhex.
And the UEE doesn't have a firm control here.
Like say
I'd guarantee
Grimhex.
you'd have advocacy agents going and being like, hey, Buggy, when Buggy here is the guy that Ninetales uses as a front, but he's not really part of Ninetales. He just goes and passes on information they might like. Advocacy agent goes over and says, hey, Buggy, by the way, we got this guy that's making problems for the advocacy and all these other groups. And just so you know, there's a bounty on their head. Just, he wanted to let anyone know. Thanks, bye. And then Buggy goes and tells Ninetales, hey, Ninetales, by the way, such and such person just said there's a 5 million credit bounty on this guy's head because he keeps ganking everyone he sees, whoever they are. Ninetales is going to be like, fuck yeah, why wouldn't we cash in on the easy money here? You're literally telling us this guy's going to be here, and that if we go and just deliver him over to you here, you're going to look the other way while we do our other more palatable shit? Fuck yeah.
Mr. Angel in the chat saying makes sense because yeah, that's the whole point. So you're playing the almost like the diplomacy game, right? With different various entities in the game, whether they be NPC run or player run, especially player run.
Because it's like, just like, too, you had back in the days when the mob was much more active and much more powerful. You know, there would be lines that wouldn't be crossed because the mob was like, well, hey, you know, we might be criminals. We might be doing bad shit here. But if we go too far out of line, the hammer gets brought down on us. And all of us want to avoid that. Because among other things, too, where you do have organized crime, there's organization to it. It's not just anarchy. It's not just pure chaos. There's structure to it. Which is better than the alternative of pure anarchy chaos. If you can only have one or the other, rather have ordered chaos that you can at least work with and mitigate to some degree. It might be unpalatable, might suck in some ways, but
better than the alternative. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like you're gonna have groups like I don't know. I'm not super up on the lore regarding all the gangs in Stanton right now, like Ninetales, Dusters, and Overriders, and such. But I know like Ninetales in some cases seems somewhat organized, given how they're able to get their hands on an Idris, and they're able to, you know, that new event coming up, which we'll talk about later, but the one where they're attacking Orson. Like, yeah, you can anarchists can do that too, but to the level and might that they have to do so, like that's probably an organized crime syndicate going on there, and not just the NPC stuff. Like a lot of the player criminal organizations are all just pretty much organized crime stuff. Obviously, there are some that are just going to be like anarchies related things. And yes, Mr. Angel's asking, unless there are religious factions that are fanatic converters, they don't listen to reason. And yes, there are religious factions that are fanatic converters in Star Citizen. In the Pyro system, there's going to be an NPC faction who treat the sun as a god. There are also some player organizations that are religious or faith-based. So, got player and NPC organizations alike that are going to be doing all sorts of different stuff, whether it's anarchy, organized crime, faith-based nonsense. And I don't mean that rudely, just like, obeying the sun as a god and then burning yourself to, appease him is not exactly sane. That's what the Pyro Gang does. It's kind of, I think, the best analogy for the gang in Pyro, the sun people, I guess, for lack of a better term, Children of the Atom from Fallout 3 and 4. They're pretty much Children of the Atom. They, where instead of irradiating themselves, they're burning themselves.
Okay, no, but I'm calling it here. From now on, their name is just Pyro Gang. Get
Pyro
it?
Gang.
Get it? Ha!
They're the Pyromaniacs. But yeah, it was very interesting, like, a common enemy. Yeah, if you have someone who's just kind of crossing every single line that's been drawn, and then you're going to have the criminal faction and the legal factions kind of finding a common enemy in that person and take them out. Exactly. The enemy of my enemy is my friend until he's no longer my friend and I stab him in the back. Also, we got the Star Citizen monthly studio report. In it, a lot of the same stuff as the Squadron one, but some differences too. Like the AI content team worked on the commuter activity. This controls all aspects of a character's behavior when using public transportation, including choosing a destination, waiting for the transport to arrive, entering it, passing the time while in transit, and exit. And this is for AI specifically. As well as eat and drink and leisure AI activities. So again, just making the world feel more alive.
I know you're forgetting one thing here.
What?
In the 70 maxims of maximally effective mercenaries, maximum 29 is the enemy of my enemy is my enemy's enemy. No more, no less.
Right.
I'll link these for you. You might get a laugh out of some of this.
Pillage then burn. Gee, no duh.
Maxim 1. Pillage. then burn.
Man, I'd hate to be the guy that fucked that up and burned and then pillaged. Look at all this char and soot I found. Oh.
Maxim number 4. Close air support covereth a multitude of sins. Maxim number 5. Close air support and friendly fire should be easier to tell apart.
Should, but are not.
Yes.
Alright, the PU AI tech team obviously finalized their work for Alpha 3.17, obviously, since it's out already. And 3.17.1 should be coming out later this week. It might come out, I would say, like Wednesday or Thursday, because it usually tends to come out before the event, not the day of the event. Because the event is on Friday, but we'll cover that after this. We'll return after these short messages.
Sunday at the Super Bowl.
Yeah, we got the AI tech team also completed the engineering phase for dynamic conversation functionality, adding ways to allow the designers to mark up which conversation topics are allowed in different locations. For example, in Loreville, NPCs can talk about working at the factory, which is only relevant to that city. The system also allows designers to set up topics of a specific character and then automatically select a specific dynamic conversation skeleton and essentially RPG level, conversations. You can walk past an AI and they're probably talking about something. Whether it's like lore related or just, one of them shitting on how bad their day was because they're a slave to Hurston Dynamics. They continued tasks that allow NPCs to interact correctly with movable entities such as trolleys. I can't wait to see that go horribly wrong. And they also showed some of this stuff off in last week's Inside Star Citizen. Last week's Inside Star Citizen, where they had the AI landing and taking off from planetary surface. AI vehicles, we got some stuff obviously for 3.17, which is already out, and the V_spawn AI command also updated to include options for overriding the crew manifest and skill set. The flow graph node for spawning vehicles was updated too.
I hope soon we'll be able to have more than 3 craft spawned at once. Would be nice.
3 what?
More than 3 crafts.
Oh yeah, because look, the second for anyone who doesn't know, if you spawn more than 3 vehicles, like you spawn 3, you're fine. But if you spawn a 4th, the first one will despawn.
What's probably going to be your main ship?
Yes, it's usually going to be the first thing that the thing you came in. Spawn the others. If you were to go to an outpost like the one, the Platinum Bay outposts on the surface of a moon, you land there in your Carrack, then you spawn 3 more vehicles. Your Carrack's going to despawn. We got animation team released their vendor work for the PU and are currently creating documents to ensure they can extend it efficiently when needed. Also began filling out leisure areas with AI, including characters using arcade machines, additional idols, and actions at tables, such as plexiglass. Facial animations were done for outlaws, vendors, bartenders, and new mission giver too. Which is just a new mission giver, so we do not know.
Oh, aren't we missing like 2 or 3?
We're missing 4. We're missing 2 that are supposed to be somewhere around Microtech, and I think we're missing 2 on Ors.
Yeesh.
Or something like that, yeah. So whether this is one of them or a new one entirely, I don't. Weapons and gadgets blockout animations were created for handheld gadgets and explosives, and work began on a new SMG.
Yeah, that's kind of cool then.
Yeah, we have a lot of SMG.
Yeah.
There's the
fun, I guess.
we got at least 2 lasers, at least 2 ballistics, and that's actually it. Unless I'm forgetting. There's the P8, there's the Lumen, Custodian, and the C-54. Am I missing one?
Are you?
would be cool to see machine pistols, like SMGs that don't have a stock, that aren't two-handed weapons.
Well, something that you could go and equip as
a sidearm.
sidearm.
Yeah.
No, that would definitely be nice.
Especially for, if you're, say, a pilot, you're only going to be able to wear light armor in the future, and you're not going to be able to have a gun on your back, but you will be able to have a sidearm on you.
Yep.
So having a machine pistol like that would be cool. The character art team continued their work on Frontier clothing for Pyro. Pretty much a lot of this is also going to be just Pyro working on Pyro. This for Pyro, that for Pyro, because they have to get Pyro out this year. I mean, they don't.
Yes, they have. Otherwise,
they kind of do though, because again, it's the 10th anniversary. If they don't have really something significant to show for it, it's going to look bad. Like there is a bit of a PR aspect to this year, so.
Mm.
They also talked about polished a large batch of armor and clothing material variants for Ninetales gang. We also got salvage-themed backpack is currently being worked on by the tech art team, while concept art team is in progress for a collection of fashionable outfits for stands. Hopefully those are new female outfits, because I keep hearing complaints about the lack of female outfits, with a valid complaint.
Yep. Well, and especially we still have outfits that existed when the female body type was put out that have still not been converted for females to go and wear.
Right. They have a smaller array of clothing to choose from than the male characters. So. And also, just they need more styles, and that's just the thing. Like, you're gonna have clothing be a thing in the game. You're gonna have a bunch of it. Your Old Navy and Gap level amount of clothes, various styles. The ship art team, the UK-based ship team, finalized paints for the RSI Scorpius, completing their work on the ship, which will be in 3.17.1, so that's going to come out this Friday.
Oh, of note too, the Pisces has 2 updates to it. One is that it's now going to be a size 1 ship, which means it will spawn at the Platinum Bay landing pads at like outposts and such. So you can spawn it there just like you would like a Dragonfly or the Archimedes or the Merlins. So if you have one, you're no longer going to be stranded. If you do go and spawn that Dragonfly, that's their 4th vehicle, and your Carrack or your Mercury Star Runner disappears, you're like, shit. The second update is the Pisces now also has a slot for paints, which means it might be getting some paint jobs as well.
Yeah, I like my white and red Nerd Herder paint job for it, but it'll be cool to see some new paint jobs, especially if they recolor the glass, because remember the basic Pisces, the CA8 Pisces, does not have the red cockpit.
Correct.
That is blue, I believe.
Because fuck you, that's why.
Whereas the C8X, which is the one I have, has a red cockpit. So hopefully, if it's different color paint jobs, will color the cockpit as well, which will be pretty neat. Also, like, imagine having a Pisces just like jet black with some blue highlights or something like that. So yeah, we got that. The Banu Merchantman's exterior progressed through Grey Box, with the team acting on what was learned during the R&D phase. 4 unannounced vehicles were also further developed throughout the month. 1 is in final art phase, with work focusing on the complex technical areas. 2 are currently in white box stage, while the last one is completed. One was completed from an art perspective. So we got 4 unannounced vehicles. We don't know what they are. We don't know if they're vehicles or ships, but we got potentially 4 new vehicles. and that's the status on them. In the US, the team focused on the Drake Corsair, which I think it was covered also in, I think, 2 weeks ago inside Star Citizen. They showed off the visuals and stuff like that. So yeah, like that ship's nearly done too. Weapon art team dedicated time to improving the stow and stock helper setup, moving from the generic offset to a more handcrafted setup per weapon. This should result in weapons fitting more closely to the player's body and overall less clipping. A similar path was started on scopes, which will give the weapons feature team greater control and ability to tweak the position. On the art side, the team continued their work on the Vanduul ship weapons, filling out the manufacturer with several new product lines. Animation completed their first pass on many of the new FPS gadgets, iterated on the setup with the art team, also continued with the fire extinguisher mentioned in the report. Because we need that fire extinguisher because of propagational fire effects.
Oh yeah.
And obviously, because this is the PU monthly report, there's a community segment, and the community team began the month announcing the Mesher, a dating app for the Moby class that took romantic multiplayer gaming to the next level for April 1st only. It was a joke, it wasn't a real thing, but I love how they made an image for it. But yeah, so that was their April Fool's joke was that they're gonna have a romantic dating app in the game. Following the reveal of the new refinery concept, the team published the MISC Expanse Q&A. After taking the community's most upvoted questions, they also supported the spring merge. Essentially, it's a lot of stuff that we probably talked about at the time, because the community stuff is just all the various things that happened over the course, including some bar citizen events, some other stuff that they're planning for 2023. Engine team's a big one, but it's mostly just talking about the Gen 12 stuff and a lot of code cleanup. Just getting things to focus more on the GPU instead of the CPU, because the game is still very CPU intensive. We're talking like a maybe not a definitely not high end, but I would say like a mid tier level CPU. So like a 3-year-old CPU or something like that. It's going to be pretty high in percentage during gameplay. So hopefully that changes when we focus on the GPU more, which is what Gen 12 is all about. It reduces the load on the CPU. The character and weapons feature team. Throughout April, the feature team progressed through inventory issues based on feedback from Alpha 317 new phase. This involved adjusting the underlying inventory logic and flow to work with the assistance tech, which was a significant undertaking involving close collaboration with back-end teams. Once complete, they moved back onto the fire extinguisher. You know, it'd be nice though if we actually got stacking and clicking, being able to move all to inventory. Just quality of life insurances for the inventory system would be.
Well, I mean, even just having an option, for example, that would make it to where you have a option to go and hold down like shift, and when you click on something, it goes over to whatever is on the other side there. Something like that would be amazing.
And here's a quote from the features team. It is interesting. It was an interesting challenge, as it has quite a different profile compared to other weaponry. It has a bulky cylinder that, regarding the fire extinguisher, that holds liquid or gas, which it can spray continuously. This gadget is going to be important in combating into fires using the propagational tech that they're working on spaceships to stop them draining the critical life critical oxygen supply. We are working closely with the VFX team to logic with the fire hazard system, as well as bring the weapon to life visually. Essentially, they have to make a fire extinguisher video game from. That's pretty much what they're trying to tell you.
Yep.
but they're trying to be like, oh look, it's really cool, versus like, hey, we're making this from scratch. Don't be patient.
Or else.
Gameplay feature team, the PU team, began this month supporting the release of refueling and mining gadgets that, now that 3.17 is out, has been out for a while. There's refueling with the Starfare and mining gadgets. Mining. I heard mining on Lyria for Quantanium is really, really good, by the way. Significant progress was then made up on ship salvage, with improved HUD being created for the Drake Vulture's salvage mode. They also took additional aiming functionality tailored to the unique setup of the ship's arms. It's got like those the arms in front. The Reclaimer's salvage turrets were also properly set up and can now scrape hulls.
Scrapey, eggs and bakey.
Work on the UIs for life support and engineering gameplay progressed, which is awesome because I love the engineering stuff. While improvements were made to the tools used to set up the resource network, which will make working on. So here's an image for the UI that they talked about. So one of the Reclaimer's turrets is just hull scraping the 890 jump. You can see the outline of the ship here. The HUD. Pretty neat. It's pretty much just like a proof of concept, but still cool. We got the vehicles feature team started the month technically setting up the Hull A, making sure its cargo feature works as designed. They then implemented the turret on Scorpius. Right, the Scorpius has a second seat, doesn't it? Or is it just... Honestly, I don't know enough about the Scorpius. I was never that interested.
What do you know, the Muffin Man?
Following support of the Alpha 317 of 4.317, the team returned to feature development, testing further gameplay updates, master modes, and key boost. They also plan to balance support for the refueling feature. So it's a lot of stuff that's already, as well as some quality of life assurance improvements across the game, including for racing ships in atmosphere, loadout changes, and health in industrial ships. This stuff I don't think is important. And more stuff on the art on the render to texture and Gen 12 for the VFX team. Curious if they're ever going to improve Star Marine, because that's been a mess. Full of hackers too.
We'll see.
So much for the easy anti-cheat.
Yeah.
Lighting in April, the lighting team continued on Invictus launch week, which is this weekend. A full lighting pass was completed on various locations and points of interest before the team moved on to polishing, optimizing, and bug fixing. The team worked on the new planet-side Reclaimer derelicts. Hopefully we actually see these sooner rather than later, because we've been seeing the concept art for the Reclaimer derelicts for the last few months, right? Actually, for like the last, I'd say like the last few months. Going back last year, and it looks great. Like, I can't wait to actually explore those in game. Because like the Reclaimer is a ship of a really good size for a wreck. Let's see. This involved lighting pass on the interior of the ship and blending the exterior into the planetary surrounding, because they want to have the wrecks look like they've been there a while. So like foliage and flora has grown around it. I mean, fauna could grow around it too, but probably not. Cam, you're going to be excited for this. But they're working on caves.
Like how
Specifically, sand caves.
Oh boy, I can't wait to be buried alive.
Yep. But a lot of the stuff, like location-wise, they're working on Invictus, because that's coming out here and weekend. and also a lot of pyro stuff. Narrative team worked on some new lore for the Galactopedia stuff, such as Prophet of Pyro and New United. Because Galactopedia is the official Star Citizen lore website that you can read articles on Star Citizen lore. Again, more derelicts, like, reclaimer-based, space-based points of interest for derelict settlements, which are like little like towns and locations within a derelict ship that they've been working on. And that they've been working on for space-based wrecks. They've been a lot of soon TM objects and items. Live Tools team released the latest version of Hex, featuring an all-new user interface. They're now focusing on developing and adding features to improve the ability of Network Operations Center, with design at the advanced stage. I'm not talking about design, that's important. More work on Invictus. The UI stuff's literally almost identical to what we read in the Squadron. A lot of repeats because, again, it is the two games do share a lot. So, and whatever gets, it's primarily Squadron and then goes to the P. Here, but the VFX in April, the VFX team continued to work on their salvage effects, shifting focus to the vehicle hull stripping variant. This proved more challenging than the FPS variant, as depth perception is trickier to gauge from the ship cockpit and the player's position relative to the salvage nozzle. Because of this, the nozzle. Please look into the nozzle. Do not look away from the nozzle. Because of this, we're currently experimenting with visual aids to give players a more user-friendly experience. Elsewhere, the team continued to work on various vehicles, including the RSI Scorpius, Drake Vulture, one of the unannounced vehicles mentioned by the ship team. So 1 out of 4. They'll have 4 up there. Cleanup was done in several particle libraries, which included converting some older libraries from CPU to GPU particles. Due to the large size of the particle database, this work is ongoing. Investigations began into VFX requirements for the various derelict locations being worked on in Montreal. The VFX tech team completed the necessary Houdini update. This involved ensuring all existing tools worked correctly in Houdini 18. They also continued experimenting with better ways to fracture geometry to help create more damage, which is kind of needed based on the proof of concept salvage screenshot that they showed here. Get it back up here, because this kind of looks very Space Engineers, which isn't bad. It's just like Star Citizen has a much higher graphical fidelity. You kind of want it to match. That's it for now for the Squadron. The updates regarding the Ptu and the Squadron42. Now on to Invictus, the big thing, right? So it's Invictus. No, not the issue council. So, shall we just start with what, like, if you don't know what Invictus is, or Cam, how do you want to we just kind of explain what Invictus is?
Yeah. So the too long don't read of it is essentially Invictus is a in-game event in the lore and history of Star Citizen that is essentially a week-long recruitment drive for the military branches and a sort of military appreciation week. Think like Veterans Day, Memorial Day, kind of all rolled into one and for a whole week. In game, what we'll see is we're going to see the ship manufacturers who make some of the different ships the military uses. They're going to be showing off their ships in an expo, which is going to be at Orison. So for now, there's also going to be a free play at this point. So people who don't have the game or haven't bought it, you can go and register an account on the website, download the game starting Friday whenever they go and pull the trigger and start the thing. And
we'll show you how you can
in.
get into the game for free at the end.
Yep. Usually it's a web page. So usually it's you make your account, you sign in on the website, you go to a web page. On the web page, there's going to be a code that you put in, and then lower on in the same web page, there's going to be a spot to enter that code, and that essentially just gives you the free 1 week account there to go and play the game for the duration of the event. There
is a lot of the ships, will be free right now for rent during those certain days, right? So.
Yep, you'll get so like for example, let's say on Anvil Day, because you have like 1 or 2 ship manufacturers a day. So let's say it's Anvil's day. So the Valkyrie, the Carrack, the Pisces, etc. You'll be able to go and see these ships in person. Like you go to the expo and you'll see they'll have these ships in the expo. You can go and crawl around inside of them, sit in the seats, kind of be like, hey, this is what it would be like if I had one of these. And then you can go and rent one, and then you can go back over to your ship terminal and spawn one, and you'll have use of it for at least 24 hours. Sometimes it's like 48 or so. And then you can go and fly them around, play with them, test them out, see what they're like. And then each day, one of those ship manufacturers will go and change. So, oh, hey, today was Anvil. Tomorrow is going to be RSI. After that, it's going to be shit, I'm blanking here.
I have the schedule on the screen. It's Anvil, then Aegis, then RSI, Origin, Consolidated Outland, and Argo all on the same day. The next day is Crusader, Tumbril, and Misk all on the same day. After that, it'll be Drake Defense Con, which is technically a different event because
Drake doesn't get invited because the military doesn't use their ships. So Drake said, "Fuck you, I'll make."
Yeah, they don't get invited to the event because the military doesn't use their stuff. And
then the last 3 days, everything is
the last free. 3. Well, here it's just gonna be the last 2 days. It's gonna be Invictus Finale, but everything.
29th to the 1st, yeah.
Yeah, 30th.
Every single ship they
30th and 31st. But yeah, everything will be rentable. The rentals are all gonna be. So when you go to the renting,
year, they also were offering equipment packs, so like armor and weapons that you might not be able to get elsewhere here. They were offering those both in game and on the website store.
Also, the free ships that you can rent, they're all going to be 48 hours, like on Anvil Day, the first day, right? So May 20th on Friday, they log in, go to the Orison Convention Hall. Orison is the floating cloud city on Crusader. They go there, go to the convention hall. I'm going to rent the ship, right? So you have to go to rent the ship. It's free, but it's going to be only for 48 hours. However, you can, say you want to rent it. You can technically just go and rent it again for another 48 hours there. But yeah, it's important to note that on the last day, all the ships are going to be available to rent on the same terminal for free on the day. So on May 30th, May 31st, kind of get in there, just rent everything you want. This way you can kind of play with the ships for a little bit longer. Nice. The Drake, the Defense Con this year, I believe, is the same as last year. It's just they're renting out a hangar on Orison. So. But yeah, the schedule is on the screen. It should be a fun event. It's always pretty good. Honestly, I'm starting to like Invictus more than IAE. Just because there's usually more going on. Yeah, you got the 999 F8 Lightning Squadron flying around. You got the fleet flying around. The Bengal carrier this is coming back this year.
Oh, nice. It'll be nice to see what changes they've made to it, because I don't know what they've made to it.
I saw some PTU footage, and there's not much changes as far as I can tell. The Javelin Tour is coming back, so for those who don't know, last year and this year as well, you're able to. There's going to be a Javelin that will be docked at. I think it'll be actually docked at Orison, and you'll be able to tour the Javelin, like some of the interior of the Javelin destroyer, which is pretty freaking cool.
Yeah, I know they had it last year. Now, one thing to note was last year, at least, how they handled it was that if you were on the Javelin and it starts to undock, because it would move around between stations, between the different planets there. If you were on the Javelin, like 2 or 3 minutes before it would undock, they'd start being like, hey, everyone needs to go and leave now, please. And if you did not, you would actually get a crime stat.
Yeah.
So just FYI.
It's also note like there is voice lines. Like if you get the tour, there's going to be like military officers at specific stations telling you about those stations. It's like an actual.
It's pretty fucking cool.
It is really cool when it works. But that starts this in a nutshell. When it works, it's amazing. But it's not always working. But yeah, you got the and this isn't going to be happening during the event, but after the event, after Invictus, they're going to have an FPS event near Orison.
At Orison. That's a ways off from the main city area, but yeah.
I mean, it's near the Orison. Like, it's part of the Orison, area. But it's not at like the main area.
It's not in the city. It's not in the downtown area.
Yeah. This is obviously the thing from last year's this trailer. But yeah, the Orison event, I saw some footage from the PTU, and it reminded me of New Alexandria from Halo Reach. Where you have scorch marks littered everywhere in a residential urban area. Corpses are all over the place. There's a turned over buggy, Grey Cat buggy, that was on fire. Like, it looked like, holy crap, there's a war zone going on here. And this is the Bengal carrier on screen. And that's the Javelin destroyer. So you get the tour, the ladder. Armor, you just get to fly around. Don't attack it, though. It does not take lightly to being attacked.
Charge!
Yeah, so we're gonna have over 100 ships for free that you can fly and everything like that, and it will be a free fly. So if anyone that has an account on the RSI website can download and play Star Citizen for free for the duration of the event. So until when the event's over, you won't have access anymore. But
yeah,
starting Friday,
you will. Especially, there's not going to be any kind of shit like EA would pull where it's like, oh hey, if you forget to go and turn off your account in time here, then all of a sudden, like we start charging you. There's none of that kind of bullshit.
No, because A, it's still a crowdfunded game, and B, they're not doing subscription service. So, like, if you want to play the game, you literally have to pay a flat fee of $45, depending on.
But then once you have bought the game,
you own the game.
You bought the game.
Yep, old school. And it's great. And for those also, so for those that want to, I don't have an account, right? Like, you want to play the game, but so during the free fly, really just go to any of our videos, go to the description, interested in becoming Star Citizen, have all 4 of our codes, the link here, click on the link. The link will take you to the account creation page. I already got one of the codes in there, so this code will give you an extra, a bonus amount of in-game credits to play around with. Now the amount specifically will change depending on balancing of the game, but you can only use this code when creating an account. It's important to make sure you have it when you're creating the account. Once you fill all this in, create it, obviously confirm the account creation via your email, as you normally or anything else. And when the event goes live, there's going to be a website that Cam mentioned that's going to be free fly, Victus launch week fly website. It's just going to be, honestly, you'll be able to find this website pretty freaking easy. It'll be on the homepage of the RSI website, so just load up RSI, robertspaceindustries.com. It'll probably be on one of these when the event goes live. And you click on it, it'll give you the details like, okay, have an account. Good, you're good to go. You copy the code and insert the code here. Once you do that, you can just go to the download page. I'll show you what that looks like so you know. So this is the download page. So once you have the code in and you're signed in, all this stuff will be checked out. Even if you're playing for free during the event, it'll all be checked. And just a note, this game is no slouch. You're gonna need either Windows 8 or Windows 10. They dropped Windows 7 support. You're going to need at least 16 gigs of RAM. An SSD is, I can't even say strongly recommended anymore. You're really gonna need an SSD.
Yes, you will need an SSD. Otherwise,
and you're going to need at least a quad-core CPU. And the free fly is a great way to kind of experiment to see, hey, can my computer run this game right now? And if it can't, it's like, okay, now you know that you need a better computer to run the game. That's what a lot of people do with this.
Plus, it's a good way to just have some fun for free. See if it's something you like.
Plus, it helps the developers because now they get a huge influx of players to kind of test the servers and everything. And you got to remember, this is still very much an alpha. The game is still in development. Things are being tested and implemented. They're building up the game as we speak, as we just went off on for the last hour or so. Those monthly reports are pretty much, hey, we finally completed X, and now we're working on Y, or we're still working on Y because of complications. The game's being built out in front of your eyes. It's important to note that because there are a lot of glitches and bugs and unnecessary randomness, that will cause frustration. It helps to keep things in perspective. It doesn't solve everything, but it helps, to keep it. Still frustrating, but it helps. And last year, and also last year they had the tank come out. This year they're having the Scorpius starfighter. It's a heavy fighter, I believe, right? Okay. It's a heavy fighter, isn't it? I'm going to the ship matrix right now.
Maybe.
Here's the RSI Scorpius. It's pretty much Star Citizen's X-Wing. Trying to see what type of weapons does it have. It's got 4 size 3s.
Yeah, it's a heavy fighter.
Yeah. That's a Cutlass Black. And it's definitely got to be more maneuverable. The turret is...
It can alternate between 2 positions.
Yeah.
Top forward, underneath rear.
Turret has 4 size 3s as well? Can't be right. Really? 4 size 3s?
It's a lie, it's a lie, it's a lie.
And it's got 8 size 2 missiles. Yeah, so 4. That is heavy firepower right there. Go to the hollow viewer.
Get to the viewer.
Oh, the watch. Scorpius. Yeah, 4 size 3s on the turret. And it's got the X-Wing style guns on the edge of the wings. Yeah, did you see the image of someone made a bunch of Photoshop Auroras that have the same wing configuration?
Oh yeah, I love
using
that.
Yeah, I love it. Was great. Yeah. It is a cool looking ship. I have not been following it. Oh, maybe I'll definitely try it out. It's probably gonna be one of those ships where I try it out when it's in game and I start loving it, but I didn't have any really like interest in it prior to actually flying it, you know?
To be fair though, like I'd much rather be getting these things in game than with real money. Among other things,
Yeah.
it's gonna be a lot better on your wallet.
Right. I don't know, but I don't know when this is going to be purchasable in game, but it will be rentable during the free fly. So
Unless that's what they want you to think.
unless they say in the patch notes that they're going to add it in shops. Wait, if I... Yeah, excuse me. Got small, so that's going to be what, like size 1? Quantum drive and everything.
Something like that.
Steel generators just as small. Which doesn't help because that's not the size classifications.
Details.
Yeah, but that's one of the new ships that's coming out. We got a whole slew of crazy stuff coming with Invictus. Three days. It's May 20th. Starts 20th through the 31st. That's really it. We're probably gonna be doing some shenanigans during the stuff.
If nothing else, grinding out more bunker missions.
Yeah, I want to get to tier 3. I do want to test. I want to test around Crusader because I know what the tier 3, 4, and 5 missions do around Hurston. I know what they do. I've played them. because someone I know has that reputation there. But I want to see if the same thing can be said for the other locations. So I need to grind out some bunkers. Which will help because the event's near Crusader, so I won't be that far. Although it will be interesting, because this is the first event around Crusader since, well, just ever. We had 2 years of Microtech events, so. Is the PTU open PTU right now, or is it just closed?
I think it's open.
Yeah, so for anyone who has access to the game, obviously, and guys like us, the PTU is already an open PTU. You can go test it out for yourself and see some of the stuff. Obviously, the convention hall is not going to be open yet, but you can go to the convention hall still and kind of see the statue here they have on screen, and probably test out the RSI Scorpius in the PTU along with other stuff. I'm not gonna lie, I thought we'd go a little longer at Star Citizen, but I think that's it. Unless you have, I think we have anything more to say on Invictus.
I think we covered most things.
You guys would know a lot more than me.
How have you been, Ben?
Not too bad. Lots of stuff happening.
Is that the truth?
Too much stuff happening.
Ain't that the truth? Crazy there in Canada land.
It's not too bad. Nah, there's a couple things, but I don't think nothing. Everybody else isn't dealing with gas prices, stuff like that, housing. So.
Oh, good. So you're dealing with the same crap that we have to deal with.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, I mean, I want to say I'm sorry, but it's not my fault.
Oh, but
well, it is your guys' fault.
Wait, what do you mean you guys is, huh?
What do you mean you people?
Well, you Americans.
Yeah, very.
America.
That's it.
You.
Damn, Canada's had it too good for too long. I can't believe I just said.
Damn fucking right.
Cam has had it too good for too long. Cam's always the one hating on Canada. He deserves to get it back every now and then.
How dare they?
And all that blame Canada stuff is finally piling up. We finally got him to come back just so that he can rant on you saying blame Canada.
Yeah.
Canada, fuck you.
No, it wouldn't be it would be Canadian. It'd be Canada. Sorry, but fuck you. Sorry. I'm sorry. I had to. But like, somewhat relevant, but also completely irrelevant. Did you see that they're doing a Shorzy spin-off series? For anyone who doesn't know, Letterkenny is a very funny show based around the Canadian. It's pretty much based on a Canadian town, right?
Yeah, I think in
Letterkenny, the name of the town.
Yeah.
I remember when I asked you about the show. It's like, yeah, you were like, yeah, that's pretty much my hometown. I'm like, ah. So it's authentic. Good. But apparently, they're doing a Shorzy spin-off. And like you actually see Shorzy, which I'm curious as to how they're gonna do because the guy that plays Shorzy is Wayne. I imagine they're gonna give him, make him prosthetics, will make him look different.
Yeah, change his appearance.
Because every time you see him in the show, he's usually wearing a helmet, or it's from behind, or he's sitting behind a bathroom stall door, roasting everyone in the room.
So have you guys been playing lots of Star Citizen then?
I have. I can tell you that
has it been
if you go to
stable or no?
If you go to Korea with a crime stat, you get some really good loot. I found 2 Nerf guns today.
Oh, yeah.
And you don't need like a level 3 crime split or anything. Like, just a level 1 will do it.
So it runs pretty well right now, though.
Yeah. I think it's still okay, no. If you're on a planet storm, say goodbye to any form of performance. Because the storm's going to kill your performance. Aside from that, everything's fine.
Just
as good as can be for Star Citizen. Like, even if you're getting a low frame rate, it's still smooth. So
yeah, I've seen a lot of the systems at least have been updated, like inventory and everything. I haven't played too much with them, but
yeah, the inventory system's still a bit of a pain to work with because, like, when you're just gearing up, it's pretty simple. But like, just putting your undersuit on, armor on, that's it, ready to go. But navigating it and just swapping items in and out of it is, because there's no
this
move
system
item
itself is relatively easy to use, but when you are using it, it becomes a chore.
Because, for instance, there's no function of move item to local inventory or vehicle inventory. Like, there's none of that. You have to drag everything one by one. You can't select multiple items at a time. You can't like you're dragging folders to another folder. Which wouldn't be a bad system for them to do.
There needs to be a way to multi-select.
And also, just, you can filter things out, but there's no stacking, so you end up scrolling through a lot. The only things that stack are ammo and consumables, so like food and water. And drugs. You can OD and get drunk in the game. There are animations specifically for it, and it does affect your flying, as well as your FPS combat.
So they've updated quite a bit of the medical stuff too.
Yeah. By the way, I saw an interesting article about Star Citizen gameplay now. Then someone wasn't a fan, and this is a valid point, but a lot of the gameplay in Star Citizen revolves around shooting a laser beam at something. With mining, it makes sense, but with the medical gameplay, you're shooting, your med gun to essentially heal someone with a hand-wavium beam of energy.
Yeah.
And the tractor beam as well for cargo stuff. And now with the salvage, it's also going to be another laser beam. So they were concerned that is everything going to be, most things going to be revolving around the laser beam. And I really hope not, and I hope that, at least with the medical gameplay, this is just temporary. The laser beam stuff, because this is tier 0 implementation. They just need a work in progress model to build off of. Because medical gameplay also is not very intuitive. And I don't mean that in it's difficult to do, it's just there's not much to do. Like, it's literally, it's easy, but it's not intuitive. You're essentially...
for example, how many people know that, for example, if someone's down, bear in mind I have not substantiated these claims, but apparently if someone's down and you're like, oh shit, I don't have a med gun, fuck. If I run over to them with a med pen and I right click on their body while they are incapacitated, that should get them up.
Yeah, because you can stab other people with med pens now.
But who the heck even knows that that's a thing?
I knew it was a thing, but I didn't know how to do it. So I found out the other night because
I've had it fail at times too. But
yeah, and I found out the other night because a friend of mine that were experimenting, and he had med pens. He didn't have a med gun on him. I had the med gun. 5 minutes, like, oh crap, how do we? So we literally had to look up how to do it. Major Winker is in the chat saying "Sup sauce boss," and Mr. Angel saying, "Guys, thanks for the informative stream. I need to go to sleep. You get some rest there, Mr. Angel. Live long and prosper." He has the Kohen Gadol sign on. But yeah, the medical thing. Also with the gun itself, like, you have the option to use specific drugs, right? Like the Demextrin or the Resurgia and all these drugs that help you Yep, see you later. All these drugs that help you. Yeah, right. You know, all the drugs that, you know, okay, this is for chest injuries, this one's for head injuries, this one's for limb-based damage, this one's for, you know, just reviving people. Like, literally, just that drug is just for, you know, the med pen drug or something. That one's the, if you're down to use that one. If you have head-based damage. But the problem is, at least for my experimentation, if, say, I have a tier 3 injury, that means I need to go to a, you know, Cutlass Red, or even just a hospital just to get it treated. I can't use the med gun. But you're supposed to be able to use the med gun or the med pen to alleviate the symptoms temporarily. However, I never really had any symptoms, and the symptoms I did have when I used the med gun, I didn't notice anything different. Now, that could have just been the server I was on, but it was relatively consistent with different head and limb and chest-based injuries that I've had. I will notice this though. 317, I have been downed less, and usually end up more often just getting a tier 3 injury without even getting downed. Like, I'm getting injured, but I'm not getting knocked out, which is an improvement. That's how it should be. You know, like, oh, I got shot in the arm. Like, that shouldn't just, okay, now I'm unconscious. Okay, I got shot in the arm. Ow, I can't use that arm now.
Yeah, I'm bleeding.
Or not even, because in this case I'm wearing heavy armor. It's like, okay, that hurt my arm. I can still use it, but I should probably get it looked at. Something's probably broken in there. But, you know, the whole, like, you're supposed to be able to alleviate symptoms. I haven't really seen it does that. So it's kind of just a, you know, med gun especially. It's kind of just point and click, done, that's it. And then go to the med clinic over to heal up fully.
Yeah.
So hopefully it becomes more in depth and more, I hate saying complex, but just a bit more intuitive.
No, it does
More
need
depth,
complexity. Not in a sense of
Not in a difficult
making
way.
it more complex. Yeah, not in difficulty, but just in a sense of it needs to go and have more to it. Just like, I mean, for example, cargo needs to have more complexity. Right now, there is no complexity to it. Not to say it needs to be more difficult, although it really should be, in that there is no difficulty to it. There is no player skill involved except for, you could argue, like flying the ship from point A to point B, but that's it.
I mean, for some people that's difficult, and for those people, they probably don't want to be doing that in the first place. So, yeah, if they're pilots, that's the thing that I do love about Star Citizen. Like, yeah, everyone would have you believe it's all about the ships, and in some cases it is, but it's also not. You know, like, if I'd never want to actually be in a pilot seat ever, I don't have to be. Especially later down the line when you actually have NPC run shuttle systems going. Like, okay, I need to go to ArcCorp, but I'm currently on Microtech. Well, let me head to the spaceport, and I'll go on a freaking passenger liner, and I'll get shuttled over to ArcCorp. You're not flying yourself, you're just essentially paying for an airline ticket.
Yeah.
An interplanetary airline ticket, same thing. Like, and that's going to be later down the line, but even now, like, if you're just, you know, hey, you know, anyone need a gunner or whatever, let's up in global chat in the game. Or how, like, if you're, you know, running with us, right, like, usually no one really, for the most part, you can go an entire play session or multiple play sessions without ever sitting in a pilot seat. So, I like that, because again, you have options, like, pilot, or do you want to do something else? Be a gunner, do you want to just sit twiddling your thumbs on the ship? Yeah. The alarm went off. Yeah, it's interesting. Hopefully the medical gameplay gets more in depth and less just point and click a laser beam at your friend.
Alright, I'm firing my laser. No, not that
Because
laser.
no, it was a valid argument. I put it in the Discord server, I believe, a Reddit thread that someone sent. Interesting. Yeah, a lot of the stuff is kind of just revolving the multi-tool and just different colored lasers, and not even that great difference in the color of the laser itself. Like it's either blue or green. If it's mining, it's red. But at least the mining one, again, using a laser for mining makes sense. I guess the question is, how else do you do it? And that's where we are now. It's like probably investigating help in different ways to heal players. You are supposed to be able to drag people when they're unconscious and put them on a gurney, or just on a medical bed if they can't. But
Can I just throw them?
It's been very glitchy. Unconscious bodies are very stubborn. They don't want to get on the med bed. They don't want to be healed. Remain unconscious. Sometimes it feels like you're like trying to, but like you're dealing with a child and they just go boneless. And they just want you. They don't want to move.
Yeah.
It felt that way at one point. Like I didn't have a med gun, so we were testing if we can get him onto the med bed on the Carrack. Not going well. Oh wait, that was data. We were doing that with data. We were testing it. Wasn't going well. So eventually, I just took out the med gun.
And you shot him with, wait, wrong gun! Bam, blam!
Well, that's how he got unconscious in the first place.
I see.
We were doing some of the test footage stuff for the video series.
And now we have the confession. Take him away, boys.
Guilty.
It was him.
It was me, Dion. Okay.
No.
I'm kind of just watching the countdown on the Invictus page right now. We have 3 days, 15 hours, and 1 minute. It should be. I really am excited for Invictus. Because, hey, it's on Crusader this year, so it's not going to be the same old event. Because how many times have we been to the Tobin Expo Center on Microtech now?
Oh, yeah.
Crusader is just a much prettier planet to go to. You're going to have the Scorpius now that you can test. After the event, there's going to be the FPS event. And I heard something about defending the bank barrier. I don't know if that's a rumor or not, but if it's true,
I haven't heard anything.
That would be cool.
That'd be a pretty cool mission, yeah.
But I'm taking it as a rumor. So if it doesn't happen, then I'm not disappointed. Hope that's true, because that would be a cool mission. Oh, I think that's it. Plus anything. Okay.
What about the one thing with the stuff on the other thing? And surprise.
Oh, actually, there's one thing. It's not Star Citizen, but we probably should mention it. Happened last week. But Cam, you want to talk about it? It's your favorites, Bethesda. Starfield was delayed.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, they said they're delaying it until, what was it, early next year?
I
yeah.
want to say yes. I'm trying to find the... Yeah, they delayed Starfield because again, this is a good thing. We should know.
Oh yeah, like the only thing I'm hoping though with it is that so they're obviously delaying it. They're obviously like, okay, it's not going to be right. Like they're seeing now in May, and really this decision would have been made probably even a month ago. Like realistically,
at least.
But they're saying here at May, it's not going to be ready for November. Just not going to happen. I'm just hoping that they actually go and keep in mind that, I mean, Cyberpunk is still fresh in everyone's minds. It's been over a year, and yet
It's been almost two.
It was probably the most recent big game flop since like No Man's Sky, really.
With the level of hype and everything.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that given what happened with Cyberpunk, given the backlash against it, the lawsuits that came out because of it, and it's like, bear in mind too, it's not the devs that need to be convinced. It's the higher ups in the company, the ZeniMax and the CEOs, the people in the board meetings who
and Microsoft now
see any of this shit going on. They just see a spreadsheet, they see some numbers, and they say, well, this is what I fucking want, irregardless of what the facts are. Like they're the ones that need to be convinced, hey, give it time, let them actually go and do their fucking jobs, and listen to them when they say, hey, this is not the time to go and release this. Hey, we need more time to polish this. Like, because I've said it before, I'll say it again. I would love nothing more than to have a Bethesda RPG on the level of like Oblivion or even Skyrim again, that you can just lose yourself and immerse yourself into because of its detailed world building, its lovely lore, and just because of all the work and effort and immersion put into it. Just as it is these days, it seems very unlikely that such a product could be created. Everything is the lowest common denominator, least effort possible, shove it out as fast as possible, fix it maybe later if never. So I'm just hoping that it convinces the fucking idiots in the suits that, hey, maybe we don't want to go and rush this. Maybe we should listen to these guys and they say it's not ready yet. But we'll see. And we won't know until we have it in our hands. Because as we've seen before, the media arm, the marketing arm of any company, they'll lie outright. They won't give two fucks that what they're showing, what they're telling you is the product doesn't exist. They'll do it. So we really won't know until it's in our hands, until players have played it and have come back to the community and said, hey, here's what we're seeing. Here is the Twitch stream of the gameplay. Until we have that, we won't know. And that's why, like, for me, I ain't pre-ordering. Fuck no. Don't do it. Don't pre-order. Do not.
No,
pre-order. To the two people that watch our videos, please do not pre-order this or any game. Just don't do it. Wait until we can actually see that they can make a viable product. Because if they make a good game, fuck it, I'll be paying $20 per per story-driven DLC. Fuck yes, I will.
That's the thing is that we're desperate for good games, but we also have you can't let that desperateness take over. You have to remain firm. Stand for something or you fall for anything, right? So you got to stand against the whole minimum viable product and all this bullshit you see today, because we're all desperate for good games, for good quality entertainment right now, but you can't let that go, oh, well, I'm going to accept anything they give me because I'm desperate. No, you have to actually be stronger than you normally would so that you can get that good stuff back again.
Yep.
Don't settle when you can get better stuff. But yeah, it was surprising to hear that the devs were, they actually listened to the devs this time around, because it's kind of the opposite of what happened with Cyberpunk, where...
Well, we don't know that that's what happened. Realistically speaking, we don't know that.
Wasn't the announcement saying that the devs were the ones saying that they need to delay
I mean,
it?
they'll always say that, but we don't necessarily.
No, I don't know what the original announcement was. I'm asking.
I don't know. I don't know offhand. But
here, let's see what it is.
We'll see.
According to this, the original announcement. Well, that was the image that you sent me. Okay. We've made the decision to delay the launches of Redfall and Starfield to the first half of 2023.
Okay. What is Redfall? I don't know what Redfall is.
I say Redfield. Redfall is the next Elder Scrolls.
Is it?
I think so.
Why are they saying that that's delayed? That hasn't even started production yet, has it?
Apparently, let me actually. You know what? I could be talking in my butt here, so let me quickly.
I'm like, as far as I'm aware,
I
that's
think
not
it's
even in.
No, okay, it's an open world co-op FPS from Arcane Austin.
Oh, okay. So it's a
Behind, okay, the same guys behind Prey and Dishonored. Okay, my mistake. Totally different thing. Oh yeah, totally different. All right. Okay, you know what Redfall was? Redfall. They were in a legal thing because Redfall was apparently the name of a book, copyrighted or trademarked under that book, and there was a legal battle with that. I don't remember if anything happened regarding that battle, but yeah. So Redfall. I was mistaken. Not a Elder Scrolls.
I was gonna say because it's like
No. I'm pretty sure the next one is Elder Scrolls 6. So
yes.
Do we even know what the name of it's going to be, or is it just Elder Scrolls 6?
I'm not aware of it. Like, I'm sure it'll have a name alongside Elder Scrolls.
Oh, at some point, yes, but I don't do we know one right now? I don't think.
No. I mean, I want to say it's going to be in, what was it, Hammerfall or something? I don't remember offhand.
Yeah, so they wanted Bethesda Game Studios is doing Starfield. Have incredible visions for their game. We want to ensure that you receive the best, most polished version of the game, which is kind of ironic coming from Bethesda, but fair. We want to thank everyone for their excitement for Redfall and Starfield. The energy is a huge part of what inspires all of us every day and drives our own excitement for what we are creating. Blah 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 blah. Essentially, yeah, we're delaying the game first half of 2023.
Yeah.
And remember, the original launch date was November 11th of this year. And we've been both very concerned about that because we've nothing on the game.
No gameplay.
We've seen 2 cinematics. The reveal cinematic, and then they had another cinematic last year?
Something
yeah,
like
last E3. That's when we got the release date.
Yeah, that sounds correct.
Well,
we've only seen one cinematic, which was the one we got at D3 last year.
They had a short little cinematic for the reveal.
They had something that showed like a space station or something, but like it was like the outside of the space station. Like it did not show any. It was a teaser.
Right. And that was probably outsourced because that did not look like it was in any form of the creation engine.
Details, man, come on.
Well, this is supposed to be this game is in Creation Engine 2, right?
Which is still just Game Boy modified, which I mean,
right.
There's nothing wrong with that. It's just I'd really like if they had, because at this point, of course, it's far too late. The game is
I mean, you're building it off this engine already.
It's in beta and it's nearing completion. But I would really like if they had done some improvements to the engine for a lot of the bugs, updating things to more of the 64-bit engine we're on now as opposed to the 32-bit. Because, like, for instance, for anyone who's modded Bethesda games, the whole aspect of a plugin limit, that is entirely because of the old 32-bit architecture that it used to be on. There is no reason on a 64-bit engine that you would need to be limited by 256 plugins or less. But we'll see. But yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah, no, it's interesting to actually see, hey, they're actually delaying it this time. And in similar news, I mean, this game's already been delayed a few times now. But Gotham Knights.
Starfield's not been delayed at all.
No. I said in related news, like not Starfield.
Oh,
Starfield's been delayed once so far that I remember, but Gotham Knights has been delayed, I think, twice. It's being made by Warner Brothers Montreal, which are the guys that made Arkham Origins, and they came out with a recent gameplay trailer, which everyone is blowing up about, and not for good reasons. We've seen the gameplay trailer, Cam. You saw the traversal methods. It's sad.
It looks like someone who had a completely different game jumped and was like, "Oh, this is the skin you're giving this? Okay."
So, obviously, for anyone who doesn't know, Gotham Knights, based on the comic title Gotham Knights, you're not playing as Batman, you're playing as Nightwing, Red Hood, Robin, and Batgirl. And it's an interesting choice of traversal method for an open world game. It's very, or at least the newest trailer kind of gave me Square Enix's Avengers vibes. And it's not very reassuring. You know, like the trailer is typical. You know, they're talking about this, talking about the gameplay. It's not the same free flow combat that the Arkham style combat was, which, and this is my problem with the game is.
It was
Now they have guns.
not just numbers based.
Yeah, it was skill based, and the problem also with this that I have with this game specifically is that Arkham Knight. Now, Arkham Knight was made by Rocksteady, but they're under Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers could have given Warner Brother Montreal access to the Arkham Knight game engine and assets. Now, this isn't the first time something like this has been done. When Halo, when Bungie left Microsoft and 343, it was the new Halo guys. 343 had access to Halo Reach for both Halo CE Anniversary and Halo 4, because Halo 4 is very much based on Halo Reach's, and like even the animations are shared. And Halo CE just uses straight up Halo Reach assets. The same thing could have been done here, is my point. And in Arkham Knight, you have Nightwing, Red Hood, Batgirl, and Robin, all playable characters with their own combat, weapons and gadgets, animations, and so on in that game. Like, I think what a lot of people wanted was that combat and those animations, essentially the Arkham Knight version of these characters in a new game and in a new setting. But they wanted that gameplay. They wanted to be able to play co-op, which would have been great. And it's not like you couldn't. In Arkham Knight, they had this kind of AI co-op feature where you were playing as Batman, and now Nightwing's with you or Robin's with you in this mission, and you can switch between the two. But when you're playing as one of them, the other one's controlled by an AI and doing all sorts of cool animation. And yeah, it's not the same as having an actual another player in the same instance playing with you, but it's also not that different, from what I can tell. But here, like, they talk about traversal methods. So you'd think that the character, Nightwing doesn't have a cape, you can't glide around like Batman. So you'd think, okay, he's going to use his grapnel, or maybe he has a wingsuit like he did in the comics. No, he's going to have an inverted goblin glider, as I like to call it, because, as impractical as the goblin glider is, it is also practical in the sense that you're not underneath the thrusters getting burned by them. And just gameplay-wise, this doesn't look a lot of fun. It's just you're just pointing to wherever you want to go. You're just flying around. It's not, whereas the gliding in the Arkham games involved skill. Like you weren't just able to fly around; you actually had to dive to get some more momentum. And the combat here is pretty slow. And then you had Red Hood, who was just fucking jumping on the air. It was really silly. But as Cam said, like they're clearly they want to make their own game, and they're using this as the IP. It's the same thing as everything else nowadays. Let's just use this IP, but we want to make our own thing. Like if you're not going to stay true to the characters and that world that you're adapting, then don't adapt it. Do something else. And he just kicked that guy off a ledge. I just realized that then this was actually on the screen when I was talking. That's my mistake. But this was the footage from that trailer. Where he literally just pulls a glider out of his ass.
Is that not where you store your lighter?
That's where I store my murder weapons.
The prison pocket.
What?
The prison pocket.
Exactly. But the Red Hood one was even sillier. I mean, come on. And the audio description, like I don't want to play the audio just because I don't want to get in trouble with YouTube again.
Too late.
But essentially, he's talking about how it's like after he's revived from the Lazarus pit, now he has superpowers by jumping on air. And all I can think of now when I see that stupid animation of him jumping on the air is Greatest American Hero. Believe it or not, I'm walking on air. And then they're doing like this whole like looter shooter system for gear and shit, and this is the problem I had with the art style, assuming this image loads here. Like the character kind of looks weird. It looks like a toy. Like things are too clean. And part of it is like a stylization. That's something I'm not a fan of the art style. I'm not a fan of this whole numbers game here with just with superhero games in general. That's essentially like as Cam said, it should be skill based, not numbers game. Not depending on which suit or which piece of gear or whatever has a green number with an arrow pointing up, right?
But my green arrow is bigger.
But my green arrow is prettier.
Why is green arrow pretty?
Also, these look again. I'm not one to knock on graphic stuff, but I will knock on just base designs. And this is a problem that I had. Cam, we were talking about this last week, but how a lot of games try to go photorealistic and it just fails because technology is not there yet.
Yeah, like you should either go with a style.
But it's a there's a bigger problem is that like you have a 3D it's a video game. You have a full control over a 3-dimensional space, and you want to recreate reality.
Exactly.
Like that's my problem with photorealism in video games and graphics and stuff. You know, like trying to chase reality, make things look quote unquote realistic, results in you're losing the character of whatever visuals you're going for, based on like cause you're now trying to limit yourself on reality. Like why?
You know why.
Like in a video game, you can make things look good where they wouldn't in live action. So why would you? Obviously, in some things like this, stupid, but like visually speaking, the art style, like they try to make things look real more and more. And honestly, I say don't. Like, go with whatever you think's gonna look.
Well,
good.
I mean, it also depends too on what kind of look you're going for. Like, for example, Borderlands with its cell-shaded look. It's very unique, very distinctive. You see that and you're like, oh, it's Borderlands. Among other things, that alone, that you have a distinct visual identity for your entire game. Now, that can go and cause some issues in terms of creating everything, because everything has to be cell-shaded, unless you just have like some kind of a filter or something that goes on top of everything. But that someone can just look at an image and go, oh, that's Borderlands. That for your, like, if you're trying to build a brand, oh, that's some good stuff.
Yeah, but I just don't like the whole like everything nowadays has to go photorealistic because everyone's like, oh, graphics this, graphics that. Like everyone, whenever a game is just below
that's
par,
been the past 15 years.
Yeah, but no, but even like in general nowadays specifically, you'll like see the Avengers game when it first came out. Everyone's like, "Oh, PS2 graphics, blah blah blah." It's like honestly, who gives a shit about the graphics? The game is what's important. Especially since everyone's so focused on graphics now. It's like, yeah, you got the game looks pretty, but your game's shit.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like, and I will say, back when we were, back in like 2008 and 2009, we were getting stuff like Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas. I mean, the faces are pretty potato face there. Not gonna lie. When we had Oblivion. Yeah. But pretty, when you then look at Skyrim 2011, for example, using Bethesda games as the focal point here, it's like, oh, hey, this actually looks pretty darn decent now. But it's like at that point, again, it's like, who cares if the graphics are great if your game is fucking terrible? I don't care that I'm looking at great images. I can go and Google and pull up all kinds of great artworks and great images here. How's the gameplay? And yet still, I mean, just on the notion of images and visual, right now, for your modern AAA game at least, half of the budget. So, a game cost $500 million to make. Half of that budget goes to marketing. Literally, half of your entire fucking game budget is not going to devs. It's not going to you buying software licenses, equipment. It's not your employees' pay or benefits or building a new building to house your employee. Any of that kind of shit. It's going to marketing. What the shit? If you were to spend another quarter, like just take that marketing budget, squash it down by a half, so it's a quarter of your budget. Because really, especially these days, if you were to make a good game, I mean, look at Star Citizen. With just the promise of we're going to keep at it until it's done, people are literally throwing fucking money at them. I mean, I would say it's nearing average for players to go and be concierge, to have thrown over $1,000 into this. It's absolutely not unheard of. It's like literally, if you make a good game and show that, hey, we're going for a good game, we're going to put that effort into it, people will literally throw money at you.
And it goes back to the whole, like, people are desperate for good entertainment right now, and Star Citizen is providing that. I mean, yeah, it's still a work in progress, but at least, hey, you're seeing it happen real time, and it's crowdfunded. It's not, and you don't have the stink of the AAA thing there. This is Star Citizen is indie. I mean, yeah, it's indie with over $400 million, but it's still indie, and all that money is going into development of the game, and obviously development includes, I guess, like paying the developers and everything like that. It's funny. It's like you want to compare, for the sake of budget at least, like Halo Infinite had a budget of $500 million. But AAA game, half of that went into the marketing, and you saw it. Like the marketing, that was expensive marketing. A lot of live action stuff here and there, a lot of CGI trailer stuff, little snippets here and there, stuff going into other video games to market the game, and you look at the game itself. Now, it's had a troubled development, so that doesn't help matters, but...
Well, I mean, mocap animations. I mean, instead of just going and saying, we'll fiddle around in animation studio, like, no, we're going to mocap all the animations here. Or, for example, the body. Hey, we're going to go and make it so the body, like, there is no first or third person body, because most games, there's
one a different,
first person, there's one for third person. So it says, no, it's the same fucking body. Why the fuck not?
Yeah.
Because again, they can go and they're willing to go and take the time, go and say, hey, we'll take,
because they have the time
months to go. Well, exactly. You don't have a publisher going and saying, hey, motherfucker, you got bills to pay, and we're gonna come collect in here no matter what.
It's just a shame because, like, and back to the whole Gotham Knights thing. It's you look at the game, and it could have been a really good game. Like, take the stuff from Arkham Knight. The gameplay for the 4 characters that are in that game. It's not even like, it's a different version of the characters. Even so, who cares? I don't mean that like in a rude way. I mean like the gameplay for the characters would be. But Arkham Knight Robin is Tim Drake, and Gotham Knights, it's also Tim Drake. Batgirl's Barbara Gordon in both games, and Red Hood and Nightwing are always going to be the same people. So it's like you have the gameplay, the animations, you have everything, the combat, everything from Arkham Knight that you could have just used as a basis, essentially like a building block to start from for this game. The city, I'd say, build a different city, because Arkham Knight Gotham City was definitely made for that game and the Batmobile and all that. Like, here you want to make a new interpretation of Gotham, because the Gotham Knight game isn't set in the Arkham continuity, because it's a new continuity, but having similarities, which doesn't help its case. But you want to make a new thing, make a new city, but you have the core gameplay mechanics already there from the other game. Just build on it. It's not just keep them the same. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to reinvent the wheel when the wheel is already there and it's damn good. But of course, they want to make, and they did say no microtransactions, which, let's be honest, nothing about these microtransactions is micro, they're macro transactions. But
there won't be microtransactions, there's macro.
Exactly, but that's the thing. Like, how many games have said there's not going to be any in-game monetization, and then proceeds to have egregious in-game monetization? And at Ubisoft, I mean, and granted, this is Warner Brothers Montreal, but like, how many different game studios have said the same things and then done the same things that contradict what they say? Like, and that's why no one can believe or care about any of this stuff. Like, because you keep pumping out the same crappy product. Eventually, people turned off and stop buying. What do you think EA has a reputation they do? What do you think Bethesda has the reputation they do? People are wising up to their act. Or if they hadn't wised up to it already.
Hey, I actually have to head out. It was nice. Well, I was going to say it was nice talking to you guys, but I guess I did a lot of listening. Sorry.
That's alright.
But
Were we boring as usual or no?
oh, even more.
Ah, good. We're getting better.
Yeah. No. Yeah, it was nice talking to you guys, but hopefully I'll be on more. It's just like I said, lots of different things picking up. So
All good, man.
If not, we'll find you.
yeah.
Well,
hopefully
if we don't,
but-
someone in Canada will.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, I'll see you guys.
Crazy
then.
government. Yeah. I have Arkham City gameplay going on screen right now, just while we're talking, and I'm wearing the Arkham. I'm wearing the Neil Adams bat suit with the the classic blue and grays with the yellow. Like
I mean,
because Arkham City.
I don't care what kind of pajamas you're wearing here, but
Oh, they're stripy with orange socks. No,
that's what they want you to think.
wait, they're black and white stripes. Oh no, why is there a chain ball tucked? There's a ball and chain
You know why.
on my leg. What's going on? No, it's even Arkham City. They had an art style and they went with it. You know what I mean? Like you look at Bane. Bane was freaking huge. Like that's not realistic, but it's not supposed to be. It's a completely unrelated topic to what we were talking about before, but I mean, just the whole art style thing, just regarding graphics and how everything has to be real, photorealistic versus being creative. And no, I don't count the contemporary games like your Fortnites or Apex Legends or whatever as creative. I count that as
You can count? My God.
they have a certain art style, but it's the same art style. Like that's the problem too. Is a lot of the games look the same nowadays because they all just copy each other in regards to visuals and gameplay mechanics. Yeah. All I know is that I'm probably not gonna. I wasn't really gonna be getting this game anyway, but now I definitely probably won't. Gotham Knights. Just I mean, just the traversal methods alone just look horrible. Like that pushes even my suspension of this. Walking on air,
Walk up a lock.
inverted goblin gliders popping out of your ass.
Is that not where they pop out of?
I think your feet normally not have rocket boot.
I mean, I do, but only on Tuesdays.
Seasonal flight. And it only takes you south, but only on Tuesday.
Something like that.
North on Thursdays though.
It's more of a north-south early.
At least it's not a West Side Story. Haha. Anyway. Oh, I do have an update from last week's story that I've heard with Ubisoft getting acquisitioned or possibly getting bought out. According to this article, Ubisoft has everything we need to remain independent, says CEO. CEO skirts around the NFT question, but says future tech will provide a very meaningful value proposition to players. In the earnings call following its fiscal year 2022 financial results, Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot, reiterated the company's intentions to remain independent. This follows rumors at the end of the that the company was attracting buyout interest. There has been a lot of talk about consolidation in Ubisoft in particular. Our overall position is clear and well known. As we said last February, we have everything we need to remain independent. We have the talent, the industry. No, you don't. All your talent is leaving amid all the sexual misconduct stuff that happened in 2020. or was revealed in 20. The industrial and the financial scale and a large portfolio of powerful IPs to create massive value in the coming years. Says, those powerful IPs that people have been buying less and less because you keep running them into the ground. Ghost Recon, Assassin's Creed, really any of these Tom Clancy-based IPs, save for the Division. The CEO continues saying, it has provided us with a plan to build strategic partnerships with the biggest players in entertainment tech. Current speculation is putting in plain sight the real appeal and value of our assets and our value creation potential. He keeps throwing around the word value. I don't think he means what I don't think that word means what he thinks, but he thinks it. He added that as a publicly listed company, it is standard and a best practice to review any offer. Later in the call, CFO Frederick Duguid answered a question about Ubisoft's blockchain efforts, with the firm recently announcing that it was no longer making content for Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Breaking Point, including its controversial NFTs. When asked about what Ubisoft has learned from the experience and whether or not it was going to pursue further blockchain initiatives, Duguid punted on the question, saying, as we've been saying, we've been investing in a number of future techs, including cloud computing, voxel, and Web3, and that's part of the DNA of the company. Learn, iterate, and explore before expanding. And we believe these different key technologies will allow us to deliver very meaningful value propositions for players. Deeper social experiences and allow players to express themselves in different manners. Overall, Ubisoft...
Right.
Yeah, right. It's honestly, I completely tuned out while reading that because that pretty much it's all just nonsense. Like, I mean, like, it's just PR speak, you know. Like, it doesn't mean anything. Overall, the Ubisoft execs focused on explaining their ambition to bring the company's biggest IPs, quote unquote, to free to play, or otherwise known here at Cast in the Shadows as fee to play.
Yeah.
Their intention to continue transforming the company to capture, and quoting them here, forgot the screen's not on the page. The page's not on screen. To capture the many great opportunities the game industry has to offer and build more inclusive workplace. As your sexual misconduct still ongoing in various places, including your Singapore office prominently. And we still haven't heard jack shit about the whole 2020 fiasco that revealed the sexual misconduct that Ubisoft. So, and that said 2020 reveal of sexual misconduct has been the leading cause of your bleeding talent. A guy with a gut shot wound. Ubisoft's annual sales decreased 4% to $2.2 billion during fiscal year 2022. I wish I made $2.2 billion.
Yeah, really.
Remember, billion! Fucking Jesus. With particularly strong performances from three of its key franchises, the Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six series. The company announced this week a number of senior appointments to its executive committee, including a new senior vice president of studio operations, Mary Sophie de Waber, to accelerate its transformation.
Into a lizard?
To a communist lizard. No, wait, that's the Facebook guy, isn't it?
Zuckerberg? Yeah, probably.
Yeah, the communist lizard. But yeah, the whole I just laughed at portfolio powerful IPs that you've been running into a ground and sales have been declining. I mean, just to list the three popular ones of this past year, or the past 2 years. Assassin's Creed. Okay, the most recent one was Valhalla.
Look, let's not quibble over blame when I'm trying to deflect it here, all
right? Far Cry, I believe 6 was the most recent one that was at best mixed reviews. And Tom Clancy, well, just anything with Tom Clancy on the name these days really hasn't been doing well, which is unfortunate because Tom Clancy was a fantastic writer with really good books that have been made into really fantastic movies, right? Hunt for Red October, Patriot Games, Clear Present Danger. The latter two being the best. And obviously, like, you know, even the older Splinter Cell games were amazing. You know, like the Tom Clancy games, like Splinter Cell, were amazing. And that was my introduction to Tom Clancy. Was the original Splinter Cell.
The newer books being penned under the Tom Clancy like universe title, whatever you're gonna call it, are apparently like garbage. Which
I'm not surprised because they turned his name into a franchise.
Yep.
Or into a brand, a life brand or whatever. But it's sad. It's because when his name was on something, you knew it was going to be good. Now, not so much. Like you heard that Ubisoft.
You know it's someone shoving it out there for money.
Yeah, and you heard that they removed his name from their Defiant X game because like they were just slapping his name on everything they could.
Yep. I actually read one thing I heard apparently was one of the reasons that they were slapping his name on everything was apparently there was some like licensing thing that was put in that if you use the name
they have to okay.
Well, you get certain rights for things like I can go and put in like a SCAR, or I can put in a 57N, I can put in a FAMAS.
Gotcha, so you can use real-world weapons just by using the name, and yeah, that's a cost saver for them. Yeah. Because usually a lot of games just end up freaking... Like either they have to buy the licenses to use those names separately, right, for those guns, or they'll just have, like, knockoffs.
Yep.
Like, I'm pretty sure the old Bond games did that, where it's like instead of the MP5, it was the the DK5, I think, or something like that. Like, it was just subtle, changes. So, but this way, like, you saw the gun. It was an MP5. You know, you saw, that was a Walter P38, but they're calling it the something else. Also, I said Walter P38. Sorry, Walter PPK.
Who the fuck is Walter?
Actually, they had the later games because they were all based after GoldenEye and the Pierce Brosnan film. So he was using a Walter P99 at that point. Gun stuff aside, yeah, it's the same problem as everything else. They just slap the name on it and then call it a day. Marvel's definitely been doing that for the last 15 years. Okay? Just slap the name on something, boom, ship product. That's it. Despite it not being that, it's like getting a box of rocks, but the box is a Nintendo it's a Super Nintendo Entertainment System. That totally didn't happen on someone I know once. Okay, they bought a SNES off the street one. This is awfully heavy for a sealed box, having an SNES in it. It turned out to be a box of rocks. My man got scammed. He's a moron.
Surprise, bitch.
But that's pretty much what you're getting these days, with nearly everything that's a popular IP.
Yep. Sad, but
yeah, I mean, like, look, I was talking to my cousin who, he's not a comic book guy, whereas I am. And I was telling him, like, because he told me he saw Doctor Strange recently, the second one, which I completely forgot came out until he was telling me about it. And I showed him an image, because I saw some of the, I can't say leaks, because I guess the film already came out at that point, but I saw spoiler images on, like, I booted up YouTube to listen to music, and all of a sudden, just a bunch of images for Doctor Strange, one of which had a picture of Black Bolt from the Inhumans on. And I showed them an image of Black Bolt from the comics. Specifically, it was I think when Hulk met the Inhumans way back in '8. And he's like, "Oh, who's that?" Like, "Oh, that's Black Bolt." Like, "What?" Like, "Yeah, you mean?" And we were talking. And then we got talking to comics, and I told him the story about the death of Gwen Stacy and how that was both the actual story and what Stan Lee did, and how Comic Code Authority didn't want him to tell that story and all that, and how Marvel at the time was kind of the spearheading of storytelling with comic books. Now it's become just the shout, the corporate, your typical villainous corporation type, kind of cliche, but
Nope.
it's there. I mean, like, you can call it cliche, call it whatever you want, but it doesn't change the fact that
But
it exists.
you
They
can't
are
deny
that
that it's
soulless,
there. You can, which is exactly what
evil
they do.
corporation. Right, with Disney now, Disney Marvel. It's like, god damn it!
Marvel, more like Marvel.
Isn't that's Captain Marvel? Yeah. Meanwhile, fan-made stuff is kicking ass. I told you about that Batman animated thing.
Kind of.
Good, man. Yeah, I think that's gonna be it. Um, yes.
Is there anything else?
Oh dear lord.
Oh,
EA
Lord,
announces
Lord of the
EA announces Lord of the Rings Heroes of Middle Earth is in development. Because that's who you want to trust with an IP project. EA.
Damn right.
Thankfully, it's a short article. Let's see. Today, gaming firm EA announced that it's... Today, evil soulless corporation EA announced that it's developing the Lord of the Rings Heroes of Middle Earth, a free-to-play mobile game. Oh, even better. As reported by VentureBeat, the game is being developed under... I can't read this without laughing, I'm sorry. Developed under a Middle-earth Enterprises license. The company is a subsidiary of Saul Zant's company. I'm probably mispronouncing that. I apologize. The mobile RPG. Oh, better. It just keeps getting better. The mobile RPG is slated to enter limited beta testing this summer. Since 1976, Saul Zant has held the rights to the Tolkien properties. In February, a Variety reported that the gaming rights to several J.R.R. Tolkien works, including The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, were to be auctioned. With regards to The Lord of the Rings and its game offerings, Amazon was expected to launch an MMO based on the IP. Right, they shut it down. However, the project was shut down last year, which was attributed to negotiations falling through between Amazon and Tencent. Because Tencent was going to be making it, Amazon was going to be publishing it, or something along those lines. Or it was like a joint effort. Either way, I mean, I wouldn't trust any of these.
Fuck no. Well, I mean, because they've shown time and time and time and time and time and time and time again, they don't give a fuck. They're gonna lie over and over and over and over and over again.
Yep.
Fuck them.
I'd rather not, but thanks.
Nope, too late. This is happening. You've been voluntold.
No, not voluntold. Anything but that. Also, apparently Square Enix is giving away all their IPs or something. They're not giving away. They're...
Oh, I thought I heard they had some real big issue with, like, financially or some shit.
Well, I mean, Avengers was a total money drain. They did not make good revenue with regard to the Galaxy game, despite it being decent. Like, actually being a decent game.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I thought I heard that stuff was...
I watched some gameplay of it, and the gameplay doesn't look like it's for me, but I was surprised by how decent the story was. It's kind of like a light RPG beat 'em up.
Okay.
Like, you get a lot of very typical kind of boring enemies to fight. I'm not a huge fan of the aesthetic of a lot of things in that game. But I do have to give them props for having an aesthetic. It's just not my type of thing. Like, because they were trying, and I said this before about this game, but I think the weakness of that game was they were trying to copy the movies for marketing purposes, right? Like, visually speaking.
Yeah.
because hey, that's Guardians of the Galaxy became popular in the movie. Everyone knows the movies, so let's make it look like the movies. Like in every regard, the ship, the world. But it really hurts it because it's more comic book than the movie, and it had a really decent story from what I've seen. It had good character development and everything like that. I also did like how they had the alternate costumes and they didn't monetize it. Like, I was kind of surprised. Like, what, a modern day superhero game with alternate costumes and skins that you actually find by discovering them in the game and not having to pay for them? What is this, 2003? It's like, it was great. And they actually had some of the old, like the original outfit for Rocket back from the 70s. They had, some of the early 2000s outfits. They had Drax's awesome 90s look with the fucking purple cape.
Oh gosh.
Awesome, man. No, but I heard good things. I really have not heard many bad things about that game. So, but unfortunately, again, I think a lot of it's marketing, or in a lot of cases, lack thereof. Because the marketing it did have, it was not a lot. Like, I was when it came out, I was like, oh yeah, this game exists. Not, oh, this game, it's out now. Like, it was, oh, right, this exists. I just saw playthroughs of it, and that's how I found out that
so much of this stuff nowadays, it's, oh, this exists?
Yeah, but most of it is because either I don't care, or I'm too busy with other things. But in this case specifically, that was a game we remember when we saw the original trailer for it, and we were both actually interested. But we didn't have high hopes for it, but apparently it's actually pretty decent. So that's good.
Yeah.
It's nothing, earth-shattering or worthy of Galactus' praise, but it's still, again, it's decent. It's better than most things today, which is unfortunate. That, like something like that was once considered a mediocre game is better by comparison. You gotta keep that always keep things into perspective. Don't get brainwashed, have your behavior modified into worse or better than not. But here, apparently, surprisingly low price tag, given that the deal includes major IPs such as Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, Thief, and Legacy of Kain. What's going on with this? Square Enix's sale of Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal, and Square Enix Montreal for $300 million? And that includes these IPs? Deus Ex? Really? And Tomb Raider?
Yeah.
That's like the two biggest gaming IPs ever. Oh, some of the two biggest. There's a shit ton. I'd say put a Halo up in there, and Doom, and Wolfenstein and all that, but freaking RuneScape even, but those are really? So they're getting what? They're just selling all these IPs, or? Oh shit, we can actually listen. Oh, I'm not listening to a 34-minute thing right now.
You aren't? Why not?
Well, because we already made a freaking thing. I thought that was like an investor call, like you misread this here. But yeah, that's insane. Yeah, Embracer acquires Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal, and Square Enix Montreal for $300 million. Square Enix also sells Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, Thief, and other IPs, plus over 50 back catalog games. Well, I'm hoping that this means we get some more and some good Deus Ex. Because we never got a finish to Deus Ex Mankind Divided. Like, essentially, we got Mankind Divided, ended on a cliffhanger, and that was it. Isn't the Adam Jensen ones? Those are supposed to be a prequel, right?
Yes, I think so.
Prequel to the J.C. Denton type.
To the original ones, yeah.
Before they were saying my vision's augmented, they were saying I didn't ask for this.
Yeah.
What a shame.
Shame.
That's insane, though. I mean, I'm not surprised, but it just. Hey. I guess 'tis the season to be acquiring, huh? Maybe we could scrounge up like all of $2 together and buy something.
Yeah.
Part of the deal, Embracer also purchases Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, Thief, Legacy Pain, as well as back catalog titles. According to Embracer's announcement, 88 million Tomb Raider games have been sold to date, as well as 12 million Deus Ex titles. I can believe that. Earlier this year, it was announced Crystal Dynamics was working on a brand new Tomb Raider powered by Unreal 5. Okay, I want to see that. Unfortunately, we probably won't now.
No, you don't.
It is also supporting development on Microsoft's Perfect Dark reboot. You know what's interesting that I've been seeing a lot of this. It's not just gaming, but actually more so in non-gaming. Actually, no, it's both gaming and non-gaming stuff. But you can argue whether it's more here and there. Probably more gaming, honestly. But anyway, the point is, a lot of old titles or a lot of old series, like for instance, a lot of old cartoons that never had a finish. Like a lot of fan favorites. Apparently, people want to see them return or get like a proper ending and essentially have like, oh, it ended on season 3 and it was like halfway there. It's supposed to have another 2 seasons or something. Like now they want to see those last 2 seasons.
Well, I mean, among other things, here's a blast from the past. I don't know if you'll remember it. Way back when, there was a show called, I believe it was Reboot.
Oh my god.
And, those
Didn't they make
know
another? Didn't they reboot recently, or like relatively?
I want to say
recently?
they did, and of course, I didn't hear anything of it, so I'm assuming, as usual, it flopped horribly.
I think
The
it was
Too
on
Long Don't Read
Netflix, so
for
that's probably
anyone.
why it flopped horribly.
Yeah. But the Too Long Don't Read for what it was essentially it was that people were inside of a computer.
Yeah.
Or I shouldn't say people, but essentially it was think like Tron, except from the point of view of not humans being the main characters, but programs and other entities there being the main characters and their city and lives and that kind of stuff that we're seeing. And you had what was one of the villains? Hexadecimal, I think.
I think so. Let me double
I'm
check.
trying to remember.
It's been
The
years.
animation on it was so weird.
Well, was it by the same guys that ended up doing Beast Wars afterwards? And Beast Wars was amazing.
I think so.
I think it was.
But it was so fucking weird.
Oh yeah, it was because it was
Like,
one of
cool.
the. It was
cool
the
shit,
first.
It looked weird.
It was the first CGI television series.
I don't know if it's the first, but
I think it was the
definitely
first.
one of the first.
It was it was one of the first. It was one of the first. Oh, computer animation goes all the way back to 1961. Who would have thunk? I'm not surprised, but I mean, it's still interesting. Oh no way! Okay, never mind. They're just saying anything regarding computer animation, not CGI, computer generated imagery. Different things.
Whoa, hey, what the fuck?
The fuck that what?
I fucking teleported, or not teleported, I fast traveled to a location and all of a sudden I'm just getting fucking peppered with rounds.
Yeah, it was Mainframe Entertainment Incorporated, right? That did Reboot. Yeah, the same guys that did Beast Wars. Beast Wars was a good. What that like? Some it's funny. It's not actually. It's sad, but you look at animation like CGI series and movies from the '90s, like Beast Wars or Toy Story, and then you look at their counterparts today, right? And the originals still look better. And I mean, the obvious
That's
reason
the
is
thing.
because they were trying. It was new. They were trying to
Well,
break
yeah,
ground.
that's
They
the
actually
thing.
put
They're
effort
trying.
and care and passion and actually wanted these things to look impressive back then. Whereas now, it's the status quo of the industry. Like, shove a few underpaid artists at it, and there you go. Yeah. So yeah, Square Enix. I saw that they made a mod for Deus Ex called Lady Denton.
Mhm.
It's essentially a female JC Denton mod, fully voiced and everything, and they even edited segments of the game that they're addressing you as a man or whatever to change it, and they even made a female version of the bathroom scene where you go into the bathroom and you see the woman going, "How rude! You expecting a show?" They made a male version of it for female Denton, so that this way Manderley can chastise you about going into the men's room. Like that's impressive. Like I like mods where like they just
No,
like,
that
they're
is.
not changing the story. They're just making it so that you can have more control over. Because apparently, female JC Denton was originally planned for the game, but cut in midway through development or something.
Those bastards.
Yep. Well, I like it. Like they're bringing back some old cut concepts, like when mods do that, which is pretty much the entirety of the game in regards to Fallout 4. Like, oh, you were meant to have the ability to become Elder of the Brotherhood. No, that was cut. Well, now it's back through a mod. Oh, you're able to do this and this and that and that and this and Fallout 4. Well, mods bring it back. I'm sure it's like 50% of your 1,000 mods. It's just cut content.
To some degree.
Also, not gaming news, but I figured it's worth a mention. Uh, the Orville Season 3 trailer finally dropped after 3 years of anticipation. And looks interesting. I guess like the budget looks like it definitely got increased. And the Orville's always been a pretty good looking show. But like we're talking about a TV show that has a movie quality to it, or old school movie quality to it. And it is really pretty much old Star Trek. But like you guys want Star Trek, you've been missing out on it. You've been seeing someone parading Star Trek around like a corpse. But why don't you go watch Orville because it's good Star Trek. Anyway, I think that's gonna be it for today. Um, Once again, a little bit of reminder for those that are interested in Star Citizen and want to play with us during the Free Fly event. What? No, sorry. So yeah, if anyone does again, you don't have an account, you just want to, this is your first time, you don't know what you're doing, don't worry about it. We've all been there. Just any of our videos, you go into the description, there should be a section right here, interested in becoming Star Citizen. Read through it, but really just click on the link. Bam. Link. Takes you to account creation. Code is already there. Enter all the stuff in, confirm, activate the account with your email, and when the event goes live, we'll definitely be putting announcements and stuff in the Discord server if you're there. If you're not there, there's a link to the Discord server and the as well. But once you have your account, everything's fun with stupid human tricks. Alright, but that's going to be it for now. This has been Cast in the Shadows. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys at Invictus launch week next week. We'll probably... Should we do the event? Like, should we play and do the podcast like in-game? That'd be cool if we can get people in-game.
Plenty of fuck-ups, I'm sure, but we can.
Yeah, well, if things go well, we'll try to get it in-game and like do it live with our characters in-game and all that. That was like the original concept for this podcast anyways. Which I think it definitely makes it every now and then versus all the time, just puts less stress on all of our system. But yeah, that's gonna be it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Now you guys know all the drill. Share, give the thumbs up or thumbs down, comments, and that stuff. You guys know all that. So I will leave you guys with Cam providing you an inspirational.
Don't eat crayons.